Hello. Hello. Who's there? Sound off. Sound off in the comments if you're there. This is a call to action. Blueberry is not here. Okay. That's good to know. Show Sheepy, also not here. Rob, so good. Gang gang. I'm so tired. I'm tired as well. My disgusting MP was trying to Ben Shapiro, their own people at the Palestine protest, just an embarrassing person. So they were going to like debate people? They were going to debate people about Hamas or something? Is that what they're doing? That sounds constructive.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Waldo's, 23 months of Prime. Thank you. 1 month away, Waldo's, from the elite and exclusive golden TRRS sub badge. 1 month away, Waldo's. Just asking if they condemn Hamas. Jesus Christ. It's been a month of this. It's been a month of this. This is our top priority. This is our top priority. Where are we on that? Where are we on the Hamas condemnation? Let's look at I have a little Excel spreadsheet of every single person that I know, every single person I encounter. I have a little spreadsheet. Did this person condemn Hamas? Yes or no? I need info on everybody. I need every single person that I know to weigh in on this. Before we do anything. Before we have any conversation. You're meeting some friends for breakfast before we get started here. It's like the new saying grace. Before we commence our breakfast here, if we could just have a brief Hamas condemnation. If we could just have a brief, we could gather and hold hands and have a brief Hamas condemnation. We can get started. We deleted the marbles spreadsheet to make room for the condemnation spreadsheet. Good, because we need a lot of space for that. We need a lot of space. Soon it's going to be on job applications under Are You Bondable? For sure. Yeah, no, I actually don't doubt it. I actually think that it's going to eventually become illegal to say anything about Israel. I think that's where that's going. I mean, that's what we're seeing in France and Germany. What software do you use to produce your music? Also, could you please drop a link to your Bandcamp? Yeah, of course, Club Cup. It's all done with FL Studio. FL Studio. And there's a link right there.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hamas bad. Israel, Hamas bad. Is Hamas bad. Doing, Hamas bad. War, Hamas bad. Crimes, Hamas bad.
Thank you, Blursid. Thank you. Thanks for the 5 months of tier 1. That's really the only way you can do it. And even then, I think it's pushing it. I think just the fact that you even talked about Israel at all it negates whatever Hamas bad inclusion you're putting in there. Maybe add a few more in there. I think you just have to say Israel good, though. That's the only way that it's respectable. That's the only way that it makes people feel safe. You're saying Hamas bad, but when you say Israel does bad things, what I'm hearing is Hamas good. So now the adults in there will have to take us seriously. Now they'll listen to our arguments about Zionism and apartheid and settler colonialism. Now they'll be forced to listen. Now that we've said the ritual words, to make everyone feel safe and comfortable, and now we can talk about apartheid, and they're going to be totally receptive to that. This is how we win. Did you ever see those TikTok Omegle videos with Israelis? Literally the first thing they ask is, do you love Israel? They are crazy. I haven't seen those, but I do have a sort of Omegle TikTok video to look at after that we can take a look at as well. So that's Hamza, the dude with the two IDF guys. Okay, interesting. Yeah, we're gonna look at that, and we're gonna.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hamas good. Up the PFLP. Up the Palestinian resistance. Up the TRRS.
GMO Radio, thank you for 26 months. Tier 2. Thank you, GMO Radio. I appreciate it. Anyway, I hope everyone had a nice weekend. I had, my weekend was good. I see some of you, I saw in the Discord and online, some of you going to various actions near where you are, wherever that is, which I love to see. What was it? Up the Reds, was he saying? Were they saying? Disappointed there was no solidarity march in my city this weekend. Yeah, that is disappointing, but, you know. I saw a number of you out. John McCain's ghost was in D.C. I saw our friend Marty and Red Scary were in D.C. Friend of the show, VJ Prashad, of course. John taking a selfie with VJ. And VJ counts as being your friend as well, John. I don't know if you explained that to him. He might not be aware of this, but he counts as being your friend. Because you're my friend because of this community. He's my friend. So therefore, you know, see how that works? I told him I work for you. Okay, good. Good. So only then will I agree to take a picture with you, he said. He didn't get a lot of time speaking, but he crushed it. I would like to watch some of that today because I was at the rally and the march in Montreal, so I didn't get to really watch the coverage of the DC one very much. I'd like to take a look at that. Yeah, and Eugene apparently had a really good speech as well, who I'd like to see. I'm really so proud to know some of these people, honestly. It's pretty incredible that I've been able to speak with Eugene and VJ and then to see them give these kind of speeches in these moments. Hello, least deranged gray name. What's going on? How's your weekend? Happy to say I haven't lost a single friend or comrade over this. Yeah, certainly no one that I know in my media circles or political world. I think there might be people that I know personally that might be not very happy, but no one has made that clear to me anyways, if that is the case. Thankfully, they're all too intimidated to speak out. So yeah, I was at the rally in Montreal. It was fantastic. It was another really good rally. It was not quite as like the previous day had been real than when I was that 2 weeks ago. It was very cold and rainy. This was like a beautiful sunny day, chilly, but it was a beautiful day. We had around 50K come out. in Montreal, a big rally near Place des Arts, tons of people, and a long march down to the CBC office and surrounded the CBC office, and there's some like people put red paint and did signs and posters all around the CBC office. It was really cool. My stance is this: if you support Israel, you should be fired from your job. What's interesting is like it's the opposite of that is happening. Like we're as inspiring as these protests have been, you see you see people starting to suffer real consequences. Germany is passing laws to prevent people from saying anything bad about Israel or let alone protesting. If you don't support fascism and genocide, you're cooked. That's right. That's how our deranged and fucked up society is now. You have to support it. You have to like it. Stop saying you don't like it. It's illegal. It's illegal to say that you don't like it. You do like it. Yeah, fucking Germany. Fucking Germany. We've let Germany off the hook for way too long, as I've said a number of times. Germany, yeah, the defenders of the Jewish people have logged on. Yeah, thank you, Germany. Thank you, Germany, for your advice on how to respect Jewish people. Are you fucking kidding me? Put Israel in your own country if you love Israel so much. Invite everyone in Israel to go and live in Germany if you care so much about it. In France, they're passing laws to stop the protests, and I think this is the important thing. If we start getting into even more of this kind of McCarthyism, Red Scare stuff, it's already happening. Like it's happening in the West in kind of slow steps, but I do feel like there's this moment coming where it's going to accelerate, especially if things ever kick off for real with China. The McCarthyism is really, really going to accelerate. Like the more the empire declines, the more toxic the climate it's going to be to start speaking out about these things, and the more difficult it's going to be, like personally and professionally. But I think what people in Germany and France are doing right now is the way that it has to be, which is when these moments start to come and they start trying to pass these laws and start trying to intimidate people out of speaking out, either by protesting or speaking or saying whatever. When everyone is too scared to do anything and a few people have consequences, like that's what keeps the whole thing in line. That's when that strategy kind of works of suppressing these beliefs. If everyone just chooses to ignore it, then they can't. What are they going to do? What are they going to lock up 100,000 people? Are they going to fucking arrest 100,000 people? Or more, we had probably on the weekend we had probably over 1 million people worldwide marching and supporting Palestine. You're going to lock up everybody? I really think that that's the only way that we can deal with this kind of increasingly hostile kind of McCarthyist climate is just to fully refuse to allow any of this to inhibit our willingness to speak out, no matter how much it costs us, if a few people speak out and they have big consequences and then everyone else is too scared to do anything, that's how that kind of climate can set in. That's how it works. Also, Germany towards Israel is not overcorrection. It's literally just being fans of genocide and helping perpetrate one again. Yeah, or Canada or the United States. We love colonialist genocides. We love that stuff. Please, let's give Israel some advice on how best to do it, because we're the fucking experts. We're the experts on doing genocide and apartheid and ethnic cleansing. That's kind of our whole thing. So let's give them some support. Let's give them some pointers on how to get this done. I know plenty of people that thinks everyone that speaks out for Palestine are terrorists and should be deported. Like we're seeing from like Canada's like media class, like that absolute dipshit loser, Warren Kinsella, and Ben Mulrooney, this fail son fucking game show host loser, nepotism case, is out there trying to say like if you don't support Israel, you should be deported. If you support Palestine, you should be deported from this country. Yeah, no, seriously, let them try. This is what I mean. The only way that like this won't get worse, this climate, go interview Nickelback, you fucking wasteland. These goddamn people. Meanwhile, again, no punishment, of course, for supporting mass murder and genocide and ethnic cleansing. No career, side effects, no personal effects. Go ahead and support Israeli genocide and mass murder of people in Gaza. That's totally okay. But if you support Palestine, Ben Mulrooney, pathetic piece of shit, Ben Mulrooney is going to advocate that you get deported. Where do they send us? Well, they only want to deport. They just assume that everyone that support every like brown person that's supporting Palestine is obviously a foreigner that's here on a green card or whatever. So they just assume that everyone that's out there supporting these protests is not Canadian. It's just racist. It's just pure racism. Like that's all it is. That's because they look around at whatever like pathetic pro-Israel rallies they've been able to muster. It's all these like 60 plus white people, and that's all. It's like fucking 36 people standing around holding hostage posters. They look like they're gonna go grab an early bird special at like a fucking old folks retirement community lunch buffet right after. And they look around at these huge pro-Palestine rallies and they see a lot of people that are Arab or Muslim or people of color or other people. And they're like, well, they can't be from here. They can't be Canadian because Canadian is a white person, right? That's like an old stock Canadian. Hang on, do I have a fucking... why is this always happening? Why is it always happening, folks? I don't understand. Ooh. Like they're the indigenous people of Canada. That's right. That's how they act. Anyway, so I don't know, the I guess that's my point about this like growing McCarthyist climate. Really the only way, I mean, the Ukraine thing, everything that's been happening over the last month has just shown more than ever that like when it gets hard, when the propaganda switch gets flipped, and it becomes difficult to speak out on these things, and this atmosphere of McCarthyism really even intensifies, that's when it's more important than ever to continue, just to keep going, no matter what. And that's what I mean. That's why I'm really inspired by some of these big demonstrations that we're seeing in Germany and France, because they're saying like, no, we're not going to be told that we can't talk about this. I mean, that's been the whole last month, right? They thought on day one, they could say like, no, anyone supporting Palestine right now supports Hamas. You support the indiscriminate violence and rape that happened on October 7th. You support Hamas. You're a religious extremist. You're a terrorist. So no, you're not. You don't protest because we're going to say you support Hamas if you do. And thousands of people said, we don't care. Thousands and thousands of people said. Excuse me. 1 second. Thousands and thousands of people said, when they said, no, don't protest. If you protest, we're going to say you support Hamas. We're going to say you support terrorism. And thousands of people around the world said,
I'm here to tell you right now, we don't care.
Let me tell you.
We don't care.
You know, and I think that's like, This has been why people have been freaking out. This is why we're seeing this like tantrum. We're seeing this like extended tantrum right now because it's not connecting. They're trying to like use all these sort of old tricks to dilute the message. Everything that's in the, you support terrorism, you're an anti-Semite.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Ben Mulroney is uncomfortable and you are laughing?
Thank you, Max. Thanks for 17 months of Prime. Thank you, Max. That's what we're seeing though. There's all the tricks are getting busted out. You support Hamas, you support terrorism, you're an anti-Semite, you're a Nazi, whatever it is, and it's just not working. And this is the thing that's different now that I think we haven't seen in our lifetime is there's hundreds of thousands of people are saying like, no, we're not going to let you do this anymore. And they're just freaking out. People are freaking out because this is supposed to work. This is how you're supposed to be able to manipulate people. This is how you're supposed to be able to control people. And people are saying, no, we're not going to stop. We're not going to stop speaking out. We're not going to stop protesting. Also here in Germany, being a Nazi isn't really outlawed as people think. Not only is the AfD not outlawed, but you aren't prosecuted for Nazi rhetoric, symbols, etc. There was never denazification here. And American nation building after World War II has ensured that. I mean, American nation building after World War II, Lee's deranged gray name was totally involved in preserving that like Nazi ideology. That's why all these Nazis were put back in charge in West Germany. That's why all these fascists were put back in charge in Japan and South Korea. That's why Nazis were put in charge of NATO. That's why Nazis were folded into the CIA, both domestically and like around the world, carrying out terrorist attacks and other destabilization efforts into Gladio, etc. This is the hidden history that we like to try and uncover here. Yeah, there was surface levels of denazification, and that's about it. And just the fact that there was a Nuremberg trials at all is almost a miracle. Seriously, I think that's one thing that reading the Devil's Chessboard has showed me. The whole folded into Mossad too. That's right. Devil's Chessboard, like the whole idea of Nuremberg. There was powerful people in the U.S. government that did not want any Nuremberg trials. There was powerful people in the U.S. government, factions in the U.S. government and the intelligence community that didn't even want the Nazis to be removed from power. They just wanted Hitler to be removed, get some new leadership in the Nazi regime, and keep the Reich intact. There was plenty of people in the U.S. government in positions of power that wanted that. It's almost a fucking miracle that they denazified at all, to the extent that they did. Like, that's what because the FDR faction still had control over the U.S. government for a time, and then until his death. That's what I've been talking about a lot lately. There's a lot to criticize about someone like FDR, but FDR being there when he was kept America from going full fascist, I think, for many years. And once he was gone, it was an absolute tragedy when FDR did die, because that's when all this Nazi rehabilitation project truly began. I'm going to save this article for later, but it seems interesting. Kendler-Experiment. Plefke Kinder werden jahrzehntelang pädophil vermittelt. See, I'm perfectly, as you can read, as you can hear, I'm perfectly fluent in German, as you can tell. Anyway, I guess that's all to say that like as much as this climate is increasing and intensifying, I think it's inspiring to see that there's people around the world that are just refusing to give in to this bullshit. And you can pass whatever laws you want. You can make it illegal to criticize Israel. You can make it hate speech to talk about Israel being an apartheid settler colony or whatever it is. But the more people just completely ignore that, the less effective this is. And I think that's the thing that's different this time, is people are totally ignoring it. People are just completely ignoring this, any of these directives to not speak out about it. Excuse me. So the protest in Montreal was really cool. We can take a look at some of my pictures if you want. I saw a number of people. Posting images of the other rallies. I was really happy to see people from the community out there at these rallies and linking up. It was a great rally. I was there with Sam and a number of other people. Ben Clarkson, the cartoonist, was there. Andre Goulet from Harbinger Media. I saw Martin Lukács from The Breach. All kinds of folks were there. It was really great. Have these rallies received any attention from the mainstream Canadian news? I'll show you something about just that in just one moment, actually. I will show you something totally fucking enraging about that very question. This was like the main kind of rally in Place des Arts where we were. I couldn't even hear the speakers. I don't even know where the speakers were. This is when we were on the march. I think the official estimate was 50K, and it wouldn't surprise me. There's a lot of people. And here's at the CBC office. It stretched for a long ways. My parents think Radio Canada is doing a good job. What would you say? I don't listen to Radio Canada enough to really judge. I usually like French media is a lot better, I would say, than English media in this country. That said, I haven't listened to it enough to really judge how their coverage has been. I'm willing to venture the guess that it hasn't been good enough. Yeah, this is the aftermath. This is how we do it in Montreal. Yeah, Jay, thank you. Let's see this. So yeah, overall, is there footage from the Toronto rally? There was quite a lot of people there. This is Toronto.
We want justice, you say how. We want justice, you say how. And
So that's Toronto. So yeah, like overall across the country, across the world, yeah, 100K out in Toronto, according to this tweet here. Millions around the world. So we had 50K in Montreal, over 100K in Toronto. Now let's look at the Globe and Mail, Canada's paper of record. Canada's paper of record. Do we think the Globe and Mail talked about this historic turnout? You know, 100K in Toronto, 50K in Montreal, millions around the world. Here's the first story when you visit the Globe and Mail. A place to be that's ours. Jews around the world consider move to Israel after Hamas attack. That's the top story. That's the top story in the Globe and Mail after this weekend. And by the way, this couple is from fucking Cleveland. These people are from Cleveland. It's not even a Canadian couple. That's what the Globe and Mail decided was important after this weekend. Let's find a couple from Cleveland that are considering making the move. A heartwarming Canadian story. We literally can't even find a Canadian couple to put in the paper about this. There's something now. UN leaders say Gaza war must stop now as reported death toll tops 10,000. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken says a ceasefire would aid Hamas, while Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rules out ceasefire without a release of hostages. So you get two sides of the story in the subhead. You get both Blinken's perspective and Netanyahu's perspective. You get Canadians in Gaza left in limbo after Rafah border crossing closed again. Oh, good. They're talking about, don't worry, folks. They're talking about a genocide being committed against Muslims. Thankfully, the Globe and Mail has got their act together. They're talking about the Muslim communities and ethnic minorities that are really being devastated right now. China's little-known system of forced Uyghur labor gives the world much of its seafood. Thank you. Wow. Good. Literally nothing. Like, amazing. Literally nothing on the page about the massive protests across the country. Maybe there might be a little blurb in the thing about UN leaders. Maybe in this story they might mention that hundreds of thousands of people across the country are organizing and protesting in the streets to support Palestine. Not one headline. And yeah, this is the story that they're focusing on. I can't read it because I'm not going to subscribe to the Globe and Mail under any circumstances. A place to be that's ours. Jews around the world consider move to Israel after Hamas attack. And yeah, they're from fucking Cleveland. Good. The Uyghur genocide rhetoric has been debunked so many times, including by Xinjiang
You
residents.
can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Cleveland not sending their best.
Thanks, moist towelettes. Including by Xinjiang residents. Also, America literally only sanctioned the region of Xinjiang and its cotton industry, trying to cripple it, and they didn't sanction all of China for it, which shows how fucking insane it is. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing of, like, we've talked about China's sort of like anti-terrorism or anti-radicalization policy. some of which was very heavy-handed, which, you know, you can talk about that, you can criticize that all you want. But a big part of this strategy has been like investment, infrastructure, development, making sure people have jobs, maybe making sure that people's living standards are rising and their material conditions are improving. And America's is like sanctioning those industries to try and stop that from happening and accusing it of forced labor. It's forced labor. And if you want to make that argument, all of our labor is forced. Do you think I want to be here right now? You think all the folks, the fine folks in this community at your jobs, you're literally forced to be there right now, because if you don't go, you don't make any money, and then you can't pay rent and can't buy groceries. So it's all forced. If you want to make that argument, I'm doing forced labor right now. I'm a dancing monkey for Jeff Bezos so I can sell Twitch subscriptions and funnel some of the money upwards to Jeff. And if I don't do that, I will be homeless. So yeah, I'm going to start complaining about my own forced labor. I actually do, Diego. I actually do like spending time with you. I just don't like that you in the community have to fund my ability to do that. That's not my ideal way of doing things. But it's the only way that I can actually have a platform and talk about these things, because obviously in Canadian media, no one is in a big hurry to give me a like steady paycheck and benefits and all that, despite my large platform.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Carrier Wave, thank you so much for 5 gifted subs. It's very kind of you, Carrier Wave. Thank you. Get funded. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Exactly. How can I say it? You can criticize targeting and surveilling people by ethnicity, because that ethnicity was mostly who were radicalized by ETIM. There's a good amount of things you can criticize, but they literally ended terrorism in the region without bombing the shit out of it or going around slaughtering people. They did it with schools, mandatory, sure, but still. Also, the last vocational school closed in, 2016? Well, even, the AP is going there and being like, it seems like all the scary stuff that we said was going on doesn't seem to be happening, but it's still very scary. It's not happening, but in a really kind of like authoritarian and dystopian and genocide-y way. And yet you absolutely can criticize that, or we can have conversations about that, but it's become so deranged that it's like, if you don't suggest that there's a genocide happening, it automatically means that you're not allowed to have a discussion about that. You're not allowed to even talk about it. And that's what I always do, right? It's like, you can criticize that policy, the heavy-handedness with which they came down to try and fix this issue. But like, you compare it to our war on terror, and just ask yourself which one is kinder and gentler and less barbaric. You know? They have not bombed one country. Anyway, we don't need to. I don't want to like use the Palestine stuff to continually relitigate that. I do think like, in light of what we're supporting in Israel, it is extra grotesque when we start trying to criticize China's treatment of Muslims and ethnic minorities, as if we have a fucking leg to stand on to wag our finger at China's handling and treatment of ethnic minorities while we're funding mass murder of children in Palestine. Like, give me a fucking break. It was preposterous, 3-4 years ago when that was at its height, and it's especially more ridiculous now. And I would like for more people to start realizing that, including some of our so-called leftist streamer friends who are still fucking talking about this. Yeah, Adrian Zenz blocked me, because now Adrian Zenz is like, we're gonna get eyes back on this. Our sanctions haven't worked. People have jobs. People are making more money than ever down there. This is a disaster. It's like, it's over, Adrian. It didn't work. Okay? It didn't work, Adrian. Sorry. Your little project failed. It was working for a little while. You had your laughs. You had a good time. It's finished now. Take the L. Hope you have a good stream, Rob. Fuck Israel. From our friend Super Obnoxious, all caps name. Thank you, Super. Carpet bombing apartment buildings full of children systematically isn't genocide, but now these vocational centers, though, that's very scary. Very scary. Waiting for all the progressives I know who fell hook, line, and sinker for the Uyghur genocide hoax because it reinforced their racist assumptions about authoritarian China to show up for this actual genocide our government is a party to. Yeah, and they're going to be along any moment now. Well, some of them are. Like, some of them, to be fair, there's people that are like, oh yeah, they're supporting Palestinians, but let's not also forget about the Uyghur genocide as well. Two things can be bad at once, sweaty, you know? Or they're doing this thing that like, oh wow, China is like making these statements, and China's not doing nearly enough, as I've talked about, in my opinion. I don't think China's doing nearly enough to stop the violence in Gaza right now. I don't think they're doing nearly enough to exert pressure, but they're doing a lot more than what our countries are doing. Their statements are at least decent on this. Or North Korea as well. Like DPRK is saying, as always, like when it comes to their foreign policy, completely never miss, which people don't want to acknowledge. But there's people like, let's not start crediting China just because they happen to be decent on this issue or they're trying to do something to stop it, lest we forget that they're, and it's just like, why? Why are you still doing this? Why are you still doing this? People are like, do you know how bad you have to be for North Korea to be on the right side? Go back and look at every single statement about foreign policy that North Korea has ever made. They're always correct. They've supported, like, at least rhetorically, sometimes materially, they've supported every single major, like, anti-colonial, decolonial struggle. They've helped different African anti-colonial struggles build these huge monuments and statues in Africa. Like, they've been full supporters of like every major anti-colonial struggle over the last several decades. And people are surprised now. What? They have this good position on Palestine. They always have good position. Oh, they're just doing it because you know, they don't like the US. Like it's a bad thing when victims of imperialism and colonialism around the world who have a common enemy, even though they have different cultures and societies, come together and support each other. Like, that's actually good. That's something that we should support. That's not a bad thing. The Western supremacy runs so deep. The colonial mentality, even when people think that they've deprogrammed the colonial mentality, they still have it. You have to kill the colonialist in your mind, which is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. In case that's not clear. I love Hassan, but I fucking hate that he calls the DPRK a theocratic monarchy or whatever. Yeah, that's dumb. That's dumb. I'm really happy with the work that he's been doing on this, but sometimes he's not good when it comes to those things. Dr. Maggot, thank you for the 420. It's the weed number.
Rob, I donate to tell you that we love you.
To,
also, please watch this protest
Hello,
clip
comrades,
and boost the
TRRS
hashtag
Sankara.
not all Brits.
Oh, man. Golden Creek, thank you for the 17 months. Leave the concern for optics behind, Hassan. You only need the truth. Well, as this should be proving to him, you know? Don't let your audience capture prevent you from speaking the truth. Nothing wrong with supporting DPRK. In fact, it's good and correct to do that. I missed Dr. Maggot's message because that was like double message. That was so confusing. I donated to tell you that we love you. Thank you, Dr. Maggot. Please watch this protest clip and boost the hashtag not all Brits.
You to be here today.
But and speaking of the whole climate of McCarthyism and Britain and the protest movement, that's as well. Because now the next protest is on November 11th. Oh, that's our special day. That's our special day. You can't any day but that. You can't protest on our special day when we celebrate how peaceful we are and we celebrate all our values. You can't protest our complicity in genocide on that day. They're trying to shut that down, and it's not going to work as well. And I have to wonder, most of these protests we haven't seen the same thing like we saw with BLM, where these militarized cops came in night after night and started busting up these protests and turning them into riots. It hasn't really happened yet so far, but I'm wondering when that point's going to come. And I feel like that point is going to come, where it's going to be like, okay, you made your point, you did your protest, now no more. Now we're saying no more. And then that's going to get interesting, I think, when it gets to that point. Anyway, here's this clip. I had actually wanted to see this, so let's take a look at this.
Well, I'm Jewish. I'm Israeli. My parents were the only survivors of their families from the Holocaust. They both survived Auschwitz. I'm not going to support genocide, am I? I'm here with the Palestinians, and we are here with Palestine because we don't believe that what the British government is doing is correct. The British government is supporting this genocide. It's arming Israel. It's financing Israel. BBC and the other media here is supporting genocide. This is illegal. This is immoral. We don't agree with it. We will never agree with it. And as Jews, and myself as Israeli, I am totally against it, and we will continue to be against it. There are now more than 60 such events in the whole of Britain. People don't want to support this. They are against this government on so many other issues, but especially on this one.
And also, this didn't start on October the 7th. In 1948, Palestinian villages, hundreds of them were demolished. Thousands of innocent Palestinian men, women and children were slaughtered, and 750,000 Palestinian refugees were created. That's when it started, and it hasn't stopped since.
Finkelstein just dropped a 40-minute... That was fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Maggot. Finkelstein just dropped a 40-minute response to Bernie I haven't watched yet. We could maybe watch that today. I don't want to use this moment to relitigate personal beefs, Maybe I will, just for one moment though, just for a brief moment. I would just like to remind people a few months back when Biden announced he was running again, and Bernie immediately said yeah, support Biden. I support Biden. And I was like, wow, hey, this sucks. This kind of sucks. And what was the reaction again? Remember? What was the reaction? Shut up. You're Canadian. You're Canadian. Shut up. Don't say anything about Bernie. You're okay, Canadian. Yeah, okay. Anyway.
You simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Gald Greek. Thank you, Gald Greek. Did you see the blockade at the port of Tacoma? What is to be done? I mean, thank you for the 100 friend coin. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're seeing right now, right? It's like people are not only protesting, this is evolving. And first of all, this is a global mass movement. This is a global mass movement, and it's turning into major direct action, targeting companies that are supplying Israel with weapons or supplying Israel with aid. We're seeing it in Tacoma. We're seeing it at these different weapons companies around the world. It's really amazing, and I feel like that's only going to continue. And they're going to do everything they can to make this illegal and make it impossible to do it. But I don't think people are going to listen. I think we've reached this kind of breaking point. Weirdly enough, I see a lot of Americans talking about what's happening in Israel right now, in Palestine. despite not living. They don't live there. They don't live in Palestine. What are they talking about it for? Anyway, sorry, I don't want to relitigate this. It's selfish and it's like completely useless. But since it is my show, I can take a brief second just to fire off a shot against the many haters and losers that sometimes come after me on here and other social media networks. Bernie was against 2 of our last 20 wars, give or take. I mean, that's the amazing thing is that they still came together to like destroy that Bernie movement. When it's just like the Bernie movement probably would have like saved American capitalism. Like it probably would have like, oh, let's have a slightly better living standards for people while still doing all the same wars, but maybe like having a different rhetoric about it or feeling slightly bad about it. That would have been the best thing to ever happen to the Democratic Party and probably the U.S. government in quite some time. But they're such power-worshipping fucking psychos that they couldn't even handle that. Yeah, just like FDR did, exactly. I'm German as well and constantly talk shit about North American politics. I mean, this is what it always comes down to is that America, I know sometimes our American friends, many of whom are in this community who I love, don't seem to understand. And this doesn't apply to you because you're in this community and you're cool. But Americans sometimes don't seem to understand that they live in the hegemon. You live in like the global superpower that's controlled our entire world government and economy for the last 80 years. And sometimes people around the world might have little comments about that, about what happens in the United States government, considering the impact that has over every single other country. Like Canada's a resource colony, basically, for the United States. Germany is militarily occupied by the United States still. Germany is when you go look at Ukraine, Germany is sacrificing their own economic and energy security to appease the fucking psycho American imperialists that control their society. So yeah, people around the world are going to mention that sometimes. This is why I've stopped looking for any sort of movement or leadership to come from inside the imperial core. It has to come from outside. And that is true, but also I am inspired by the movement that we're seeing right now. Like there is a mass movement that's happening inside the empire right now, and I think that's important as well. And you know, I think that's really cool. And I've noticed as well, there's already people like, cause like PSL and like Answer and these like, related like institutions are involved in planning some of these protests. So there's already people starting like sectarian bullshit. Even after like the largest mass pro-Palestine protest in like American history. There's people who are like, this is the moment right now to air out my like petty grievances about whatever sect that I don't agree with right now. They're in a different and bad group and not good like my group. Now is the time to air this out now. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? At this first time in recent memory, when there's like something that's uniting everyone, that everyone can work together. All these different organizations and tendencies can all come together and work on this and get involved. And there are people like, not like that. They're doing it wrong. They're not doing it right. It's like, Jesus Christ. Does that ever not happen? No, it doesn't. No, it does not. But like you said, it's just a matter of time until the state decides enough is enough. Yeah, I think that's true, HTA. Although I do think that like that's going to be the sign that we need to continue when that moment comes, you know? That's the sign that we need to speak out even more. That's the sign that we need to go out in the streets even more. And like people in Germany and France are showing us the way, you know? They can arrest a couple dozen people for speech if they make it illegal to criticize Israel. They say that you're doing a hate crime if you talk about Israel being a fucking genocidal apartheid settler colony. If they can arrest a few people for that, they can't arrest hundreds of thousands of people, though. If people just continue, if people just completely ignore that. The USA and Ukraine annihilated Nord Stream 2. It didn't hurt Russia, just us goddamn Germans. Well, I mean, everything that we're seeing right now, both with Ukraine and Palestine, is the empire imploding like in real time. They failed in Ukraine. They failed. And even the idea of Ukraine, I mean, it's almost been revealed at this point that it was less ever about like protecting or defending Ukraine or their culture or their sovereignty, and more about like bringing the EU to heel and making sure the EU was a full-on like America-controlled enterprise. When empire starts flailing violently, that's the time to hit the gas harder. Absolutely. When like that's what we're seeing right now, right? The contradictions are becoming clearer and clearer to everyone. They're heightened. They're heightened for everyone. That's the time we need to start going even harder. And the frustrating thing about Ukraine as well, and like now we're seeing news stories about how they're starting to like the whole process of starting to say like, okay, we're going to start having the peace talks pretty soon. Like we're going to wind this thing down. It's so fucking frustrating because I've been saying for 2 years or however long it's been, I don't even remember anymore, almost 2 years, that it's not like there's no chance that they're going to win. They're not going to push Russia out. It's not going to happen. There should have been this peace process 2 years ago. And all the people that called me a fucking genocide apologist and a Putin apologist, and you love when Ukrainians are killed, and you love when Ukrainian civilians are murdered, and you love when Ukrainian children are murdered. People said the most, and I'm sorry, I feel bad. I keep centering me. I guess it's my own show, so I'm allowed to talk about it. But people said all kinds of fucking crazy things about me for making this basic stance. We should not be escalating this. First of all, we caused this in the first place. We should never have been fucking around in Ukraine in the first place. We caused it in the first place. It wasn't unprovoked. We caused this, and we should not be escalating it. We should not be continuing to fund billions and billions of dollars of arms and sending billions of dollars worth of arms to these God knows who in Ukraine. We should not have these CIA-trained militias. This is what I've been saying for going on 2 years now. And people say that, like, for people with the audacity to say that I don't care about people dying when I've been arguing now for 2 years, less people should die. Why are people continuing to die? And lo and behold, we're coming up to the exact same outcome that would have happened if they had just negotiated 2 years ago. We're going right, and they're getting the exact same deal. And what's happened in that year and a half? Thousands and thousands of people have died, Ukrainians, who these people are claimed to care about. They claim to care about and support the noble, beautiful Ukrainians, and thousands of Ukrainians have died for no reason over the last year and a half. And now you're getting the same outcome that you would have gotten if you had just negotiated right away, which there was appetite for, which was they was not allowed. They were not allowed to negotiate. Zelensky's going to really wish he followed with Minsk too, and he did that. I don't have a ton of sympathy for Zelensky. He's like a Panama Papers rich guy. He's been the front man for this whole war. You know, fuck him. But I don't think he ever had any choice to follow Minsk or not follow Minsk. Like, he campaigned on following that and having peace in Ukraine. He campaigned on that. That's why he was so popular. And he was not allowed. He got into power, and even worse, he's a comedian. Yeah, exactly. He got into power, and these far-right militia guys and their NATO backers were like, no, you're actually not allowed to do that. All you can do is escalate. All you can do is keep pushing up to that Russian red line over and over and over and over. But don't worry, when you cross that red line and Russia attacks you, we're going to have your back. We're going to totally have your back, bro. Don't worry. We're going to give you everything you need to ensure that you defeat the Russians, and then Ukraine's going to be a NATO member. You're going to be a full Western ally, you know. Don't worry, just keep pushing Russia over and over and over again, and we're going to have your back. And look what happened. Look what happened when you make deals with the United States of America. That's how much they care about you. That's how much they care about your sovereignty. That's how much they care about your democracy. People got used in Ukraine. And now they're getting the exact same deal. They're getting the exact same deal that they would have gotten a year and a half ago, but with hundreds of thousands of people dead. Like, congratulations. You know? And this is what people called me, like a fucking genocide denier or a Putin sympathizer for making this basic case. A worse deal, yeah, because now they have to go to the table with nowhere near the same level of like negotiating leverage. This is what I've been saying for you. And like, listen, those regions in eastern Ukraine, they didn't have to be they didn't have to go away. If they had followed those Minsk agreements, if they had not pushed up to that red line, those regions would be part of Ukraine. Well, that's gone now. That's not happening anymore. They're gone. They're gone forever. Crimea has always been gone. The idea that Crimea was coming back has always been fantasy land. So yeah, they're in a way worse situation than they would have been if they had just followed the basic agreements that they agreed to. Was the strategy to effectively prove we have no power? I don't think that was the strategy, but that's been the result. This is what I mean. NATO and the West has been exposed as being a paper tiger. We tried everything. We said, surely we can fund Ukraine with enough weapons to defeat Russia. Surely we can use sanctions and the kind of economic warfare that we're used to using to destroy Russia's economy. None of it worked. None of it worked. And everyone around the world sees it. It's going to be great for Ukraine paying off all that debt for all those weapons. Well, that's why they got to privatize every single scrap, every single building, every single resource that you can possibly muster up. You can go to that website where you can just purchase power plants and stuff in Ukraine. Like, that's great. So yeah, I must say that it's a little frustrating for me as someone that has spent a lot of time talking about this to feel like I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about the fact that like hundreds of thousands of people fucking died that did not have to. But like we've been on this show, we've been talking about this going on 2 years now. While dipshits like Dylan Burns doing like CIA-sponsored war tourism, we're promoting this thing and trying to promote their own selves and their own brand. And there you go. That's what you get. That's been really great for the Ukrainians that you claim to care about. It's been really great for them. You really helped out. You really did a great job, Dylan. Good job. Good job, buddy. Going to be awesome when some Azov splinter faction does a terrorist attack in Central Europe and it gets blamed on Hamas. Did you see the like Malcolm Nance, like the former like intelligence guy, dipshit who like joined the Ukrainian military? He was like a media guy talking about, oh, if there's a Hamas attack, like, what do you know, sir? What do you know, Malcolm? Do you know something about this? Caring about Ukrainians by filming them walk into a meat grinder. Yeah, no, great job. Great job. Ukraine is just ground for America to get on Russia's nerves. Well, that's it. It was like, this is what I keep saying, right? This is why people like act like it's hypocritical or something to support Palestine and also to support not arming Ukraine. Like they think it's a hypocritical or something. It's like, no, I don't support. It shouldn't be surprising that me, as socialist, a Marxist, I don't support U.S.-backed client states in either Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan. I don't support any of these. It's actually not it's not weird or contradictory in any way. It actually makes perfect sense. Unless you're a huge idiot. It's low-key prep for a conflict with China who co-trained with Russians for a while and have similar equipment. But like, do Americans really think that they can now, like, now's the time. We're feeling so strong. Our empire is in such great shape. Now's the time we can really pivot to full-on all-out war with China. That's going to go great. Like, that's the thing that has been exposed. That's what has been exposed over the last 2 years, is that the empire is dying. The empire is collapsing in on itself. They do not have the ability to wage war or to be like form these proxy armies, wage proxy wars, destabilize countries with sanctions. They can't do it anymore. It's gone. Those days are over. Those days are finished. It's just a question of, as we've said, whether Americans will realize this and take part in some kind of like a managed decline, or if they just continue ignoring it and still pretending that they're the big boss of the world that no one can ever challenge and just go plow full steam ahead. I would also bet my life on option B. Yes, America is famously they're not a people that are going to go out with dignity, with a whole lot of dignity, to say the least. And of course, Canada being a fucking pathetic lapdog of the U.S. empire, we're going to chain ourselves to the decaying corpse as they swirl the drain, and we're going to be dragged down as well. And we deserve it. And we will deserve it. I got to talk about the discourse police thing. I think that's one of the most crazy making things that's been going on over the last week or two as well. How people are looking at Palestine and like the absolute barbaric, unhinged, brutal violence that Israel and the IDF is unleashing right now, and be like, you know what? This is the time right now that we have to talk about slogans that make people feel unsafe. If only you could find a better slogan. Let's focus on this right now. Let's make sure everybody is laser focused on this. We got people like the Democrats are funding this mass murder, this ethnic cleansing, this genocide. And most Democrats, they're most angry at Rashida Tlaib for saying true things. And the Democratic Party has never been more united to condemn Rashida Tlaib who has shown a lot of bravery. You can criticize people that are part of the machine, part of the U.S. government. I get it. But who has shown like a lot of bravery not backing down on this, despite how everyone is trying to intimidate her to not speak out, to not say these things, and she's not going along with it. And that, I think, is worthy of praise, even if there's other things we might be able to criticize. We just got to message a little bit better. From the river to the sea. It's so upsetting. It's so upsetting. Oh my gosh. I feel so unsafe when people say that. Give me a fucking break. I'm so sick of this. And that's another thing people are just rejecting. The exact same people. Defund the police, abolish the police. It's just turning people off. You get the slogan police get involved. When we're seeing this unprecedented mass murder campaign, that's when it's time for the slogan police to get involved. From the river to the shore, we won't fight you anymore. From the river to the sea, we can all be friends and live in harmony. Why have you tried that? What if you tried chanting that? Then people would agree with it. Anyway, the absurd and farcical thing about the entire thing is that Israel believes in one nation.
You can count on
from the
me.
river to the sea, called
Rob
Israel,
to
that they control.
This.
That has no Arabs
From the
or
river to
Palestinians
the
in
sea, Palestine will be free.
Thank you, Biggerwig, for the 35 months tier 1. Biggerwig, oh my goodness. 1 month away from the 36 month. Pearl Badge. Is Rashida the only decent voice in Congress right now? It's just full of conservative maniacs or coward centrists. I think like Cory Bush has been pretty good. I think Ilhan has been pretty good. You know, overall, I think there's some decent people, but Rashid is the only one that's fully, unapologetically going to the mat and is kind of taking the heat for everyone else. I remember when From the River to the Sea was a Zionist slogan. I mean, it still is. You know, this is what they believe. This is what they believe. From the River, it's genocidal. It calls for wiping out Israel. It's not about, it doesn't, it's against the two-state solution. There is no two-state solution, number one. Number two, Israel doesn't believe in a two-state solution. Why don't you talk to them? Talk to them about this slogan. The slogan police should talk to them. There's no more two-state solution. They've assured that. They've seen to that. And yes, they believe in one state, Israel, from the river to the sea, that does not have Palestinians or Arabs in it. That's their stated policy. You don't have to look into some fucking fantasy land thing of like the possible future of what might happen if Palestine is freed. And yet, from the river to the sea right now, Palestinians are not free. So it's just completely non-controversial to say, well, from the river to the sea, they will be free. Completely fucking deranged that any thought has been put into this whatsoever. With these absolute losers who contribute nothing except wagging their finger and clicking their tongues at the slogans, the slogan police. Like, give me a break. If we free these blacks, they're going to take revenge and slaughter us. Again, word for word, completely identical to like Rhodesia and African settler colonies. The whole argument to continue the system of apartheid in South Africa. Word for word, copy paste the exact same arguments. From the river to the sea, the truth is somewhere in between. That's right. Yeah. We're just going to workshop that. We're going to find the right combination of words, and eventually they're going to be like, okay, this is all right. You're allowed to continue protesting this. You're allowed to suggest that Palestinians are human beings now. We've decided. Now that you've said the right words, you've done all you've condemned all the baddies. You're doing the good slogans. You're being good little boys and girls, and now you're allowed to say that Palestinians are human beings. Yeah, Israel, they got mad when they heard the slogan. It's like, that's what we're doing. You're copying us. From the river to the sea, I agree with MSNBC. Have we tried that one? Maybe that one would be good. Oh, speaking of the audacity of hope, we can totally look at Obama's statements. Thank you. Thanks, Obama. Let's take a look at that. Oh, before we do, we can look at this as well. I was talking about DPRK before. And again, people saying like, well, you know things are bad when DPRK is on the right side. First of all, when it comes to these foreign policy things, they're always on the right side. But again, this is not like unhinged propaganda. This is a totally well-argued and well-reasoned statement that their media is talking about. We love to make fun of North Korean media or whatever. Like, this is totally reasonable. This is from DPRK state media right now, which I think we should all support, and I in fact do support.
미국의 대이스라엘 일변도 정책과 무모한 군사적 지원이야말로 무고한 아랍인 대량 학살을 처리하는 전쟁 범죄 반인륜 범죄이다. 조선 법률가위원회 대변인 다마. 최근 이스라엘이 가자 지대에 대한 무분별한 군사적 공격을 계단식으로 확대하고 있는 것으로 하여 무고한 민간인 사상자 수가 계속 늘어나고 있다. 지난 10월 7일 중동 사태 발생 후 현재까지 종합된 자료에 의하면 가자 지대에서는 이스라엘의 무차별적인
Okay, you want me to read the subs? Okay. We got people at work. We got audio only gang. I'll do a real-time translation. I like her hairstyle as well. I'm wondering, is the back part hair, or is she like sitting on a seat? Like sometimes with me, you see like the seats behind me. But yeah, I think it's a good look. I just want to go to DPRK once in my life, then I can die happily. Well, we're planning to eventually do a community meetup there, so that's what this shirt is. It's going to happen. It's going to happen one day, folks. Okay, let's go. The U.S.'s reactionary policies and reckless military support towards Israel are war crimes and crimes against humanity that led to mass murder of innocent Arabs. Press statement of spokesman of Korean Jurist Committee. Recently, Israel has been expanding its indiscriminate military attacks on the Gaza Strip, and the number of innocent civilian casualties continues to increase. According to data available since the outbreak of the Middle East incident on October 7th, due to indiscriminate air raids and shelling by Israel, more than 8,000 Palestinians, including over 3,000 children and 2,000 women, were killed and over 20,000 wounded in the Gaza Strip. And the damage is expected to be further expanded in the future due to the humanitarian crisis. Nevertheless, instead of making efforts to resolve the situation, the United States continues to condone and promote Israel's acts of massacre of civilians by focusing on military support for Israel. This is when you actually have a media that tells the truth. You know, we love to, in the West, with our colonialist mentality, we love to make fun of DPRK and they're like state media propagandists. This is when you actually have a media apparatus that has the ability to say true things about this. They're just saying things that are true. No lies detected, zero irony. This is better journalism about this than we are seeing anywhere in our society currently. Mainstream journalism. Look at the article from the Globe and Mail we looked at versus what the statement from DPRK state media is. There's one state media that has actual integrity and is saying true things. And there's one that's pathetically covering up and cowering in the face of our powerful boss nation and supporting mass murder and ethnic cleansing. Yeah, they know something about living under a blockade. That's odd. Yeah, really strange that they would take this stance. Nevertheless, instead of making efforts to resolve the situation, the United States continues to condone and promote Israelis' acts of massacre of civilians by focusing on military support for Israel. After this incident occurred, the United States not only dispatched 2 aircraft carrier strike groups, but also a large amount of war equipment, including landing assault ships and fighter jets, to the region. It also deploys missile defense and interception systems such as THAAD and Patriot, and proposing to the Congress a comprehensive aid plan, including a $14.3 billion support to Israel. By the way, in terms of the whole aid package that they bargained, so Republicans under this new speaker now separated. They've fucked Biden on this, actually, and I'm sure it's going to work. They've separated the Ukraine aid from the Israel aid, and they've preconditioned it on all kinds of draconian spending cuts. So if Biden wants to send us Israel aid, he has to agree to that. And he's probably going to do it because he's a fucking psycho genocidal Zionist. He's probably going to do it. That's what's going on in the Democratic U.S. government. You got to vote for the blue team, though. I wanted to devote my life to the Workers' Party of Korea and serving the Korean peoples. I would love to. Genuinely, I would like to be an international member of the Korean Workers' Party. I would be happy to. That's one thing that since I started off doing this kind of commentary around 5 or 6 years ago, that's one thing I didn't really expect, that I would unironically become a like Korean unification advocate and supporter. If there was any, I've been talking about DPRK for a while. If there was any irony inherent to my commentary about DPRK at one point, it's completely dissolved at this point. Now I completely uncritically and unironically support DPRK. A spokesman of the Korean Jurist Committee. If I have people watching right now, lurkers or people that are going, "Oh my good word, oh my goodness," I'm sorry, but it's true. I'm not going to lie to people about the kind of shit that I'm into. Okay, that's for cowards. You got to get this. You got to put this stuff up front so people know what they're dealing with. A spokesman of the Korean Jurist Committee said in a press statement issued on Friday and went on. This shows that although the United States is outwardly talking about preventing the escalation of the situation, its true intention is to protect and provide strong support to Israel's reckless military attack on the Gaza Strip. The U.S. exercised veto at a meeting of the UN Security Council on the Middle East crisis on October 18th, talking about Israel's right to self-defense, and also foiled the adoption of a resolution at a UNSC meeting on October 26th, calling for a temporary truce, not an immediate ceasefire. The fact goes to clearly prove that it has no interest in the protection of civilians in the Gaza Strip. I mean, really, even the words coming out about the criticism that they have been making, saying, "Oh, you guys got to tone this down. You're making this look really bad, and it's just turning people against Israel. If you just tone this down a little bit and allow us to get humanitarian aid in, then you can continue your ethnic cleansing, and not as much people are going to be mad about it." But it's like they're so fucking genocidal that they can't even agree to that. They're like, "Shut the fuck up, Blinken. When's Trump coming back? Get this Blinken guy out of here. We want Trump back." And Blinken and Biden are like, "Okay, thank you. Thanks, Israel." Because they're pathetic cowards. This is just midnight snack. This is DPRK state media, but she's reading a statement from the Korean Jurist Committee about this. We want Jared back. Yeah. The blockade, the genocidal air campaign, and the fact that the resistance has had to literally go underground, all of this happened to Korea. Yeah, no, exactly. And it's a big surprise. It's a big wonder why they support Palestine or why they talk about this. This is called internationalism. This is called having solidarity with different societies and different cultures, even if they're different from you. Because you know what they're going through, because you've experienced it yourself, and you want to reach out to them and show that they have support and that you're helping them. It's a mystery to some people. Some people in our culture find this very confusing. In particular, the U.S. has insisted that Israel is not to blame for the death of more than 500 civilians due to the attack on a Palestinian hospital. I want one of those pins. Shamelessly claiming that the number of civilian deaths announced by the Palestinian health authorities cannot be confirmed directly on the spot and accordingly cannot be recognized. This fully reveals the U.S. cruelty and barbarity. The U.S. loudly clamored about humanitarian disaster, calling for the protection of civilians in Ukraine. But it is conniving and encouraging Israel's hideous killings of civilians while keeping mum about this, which is the height of double standards. Wow, this is so crazy. This radical brainwashing operation. Like, what have they said that's wrong at this point? This is more truth that we're getting about the situation than anyone in our mainstream media right now in Canada or the United States. Through large-scale protest, demonstrations, and rallies in different parts of the world, the international community is now strongly urging Israel, which does not hesitate to commit massacres of civilians, and the U.S., which is zealously patronizing, conniving, and fostering them, to immediately stop the human slaughter. A resolution demanding an immediate ceasefire for humanitarian purposes was adopted at the October 27th Special Emergency Meeting of the UN General Assembly with the approval of 120 countries. And a statement of the Middle East countries on putting an end to the war crimes of Israel against mankind and on making an immediate truce for protection of civilians was made public on October 28. They are an eruption of strong protest and anger of the international community. The United States' one-sided policy and reckless military support policy towards Israel is an outsized war crime that has led to the genocide of innocent Arabs. The United States is the country that should be sued by the International Criminal Court and kicked out of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Still no lies detected. 100% agree. Ending the double standards of the United States, which exercises coercion and tyranny around the world, is a prerequisite for establishing a fair and just international order. True. She's cooking. Pyongyang, November 3rd, Juche 112, 2023. She's cooking. Where's the issue with that? Is this scary DPRK propaganda, or are they actually just saying true things about the world and the relation of the United States has with the world? Yeah, I believe Juche 112 refers to the year. All facts. 10 out of 10. No notes. Yeah. Seriously. And people are saying, can you believe that they're on the right side of this? They're always on the right side. And this is the Orientalist bullshit that people need to deprogram from themselves. People don't make the connection. I've been lied to my whole life about Israel. I've been lied to my whole life about everything that America does around the world. I've been lied to about Cuba. I've been lied to about everything. Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever you want to say, Libya. I've been lied to over and over. But when it comes to DPRK, that's the truth. I got to believe everything I hear about DPRK, though. Surely they're not lying about that as well. Maybe perhaps the same people that lie about fucking everything, perhaps they're lying about DPRK as well. I wonder. This is Orientalism, when people want to stand with and support Cuba and they will talk about the anti-Cuban propaganda, but then they just believe every single word that they hear about DPRK. That's racism. That's purely Orientalism. Yeah, they call them brainwashed. Exactly. I could never be like that, though. Not me. I'm immune to propaganda. The axis of authoritarianism, I like that, James, often points out facts as a dastardly tactic. It's true. This is how they get you. They point out facts, just like with DPRK. Yeah, sorry. Remember Trudeau telling us not to let Russia make hay about Yaroslav Hunka receiving a standing ovation. Exactly. You can't let them win. Even with DPRK and just saying factual things that we frame as being propaganda or we frame as being brainwashing, it was the exact same thing during the Korean War, when American soldiers would defect to DPRK because they were dropping pamphlets on people being like, why are you over here killing Koreans, especially black soldiers? Why are you over here killing Koreans? Your country hates you. What are you doing over here killing Koreans? And a lot of soldiers were like, huh, that's actually true. Why am I here? What am I doing here? And then the American military leadership was just like, what are these devious brainwashing techniques? What is going on here? What are these devious communist Korean Asian brainwashing techniques? And then they invest in MK Ultra and all the horrible attempted brainwashing shit that they were learning about at McGill University, because they thought it was actual brainwashing and not them just saying basically true things that connect with people. And this is what I mean about the whole like McCarthyist climate. Like this is where we're going. Like we're just going to get to a point where like criticizing our empire at all, whether it comes to Ukraine, whether it comes to Israel, whether it comes to DPRK, whether it comes to Taiwan, whatever, they're just getting to a point where making any of these arguments about any of these places is just like Russian propaganda and bad. And that's how they're going to try and delegitimize and eventually just totally get rid of it. Anytime you say anything about that our empire does, if you say a true thing about what our empire does around the world, well, that's Russian propaganda, and you just lost your job. Of course Trump will support Israel no matter what. They fucking love Trump and Israel. Of course they do. The idea that Trump's going to be somehow better on this is absolutely preposterous. But unfortunately, that's probably where America's going, considering the Democrats have completely fucked up any possibility of being reelected in 1 year. It's 1 year away, by the way. It's literally 1 year away to the day today, the U.S. election. And I'm going to be there with you, folks. If you're watching right now, 1 year from today, I will be right there with you. We'll be watching the fucking Democratic Party completely eat a historic amount of shit live together. We'll be looking at that. And like they're already trying to replace Biden. Like they're already floating. Like you've seen like David Axelrod say they're looking like there's polls coming out now in all of these swing states. Democrats are getting killed in all of these swing states. They're getting killed in Michigan, which they need to win. Lo and behold, who could have predicted? Because these Arab communities in Michigan, who they just assume that they own their vote, these Arab communities are being like, no, fuck you, we'll never vote for you again. Yeah, like there's plans right now to even get Biden out of there, and Newsom seems to be the possible like alternative, who's just like a haircut kind of empty suit. He's able to speak coherently, and he's basically just like an 80s Republican. But is Democratic policy going to shift at all when it comes to Palestine under a President Newsom? I don't think so. I don't think it will. So that's not really going to mean all that much. No, they're losing their minds. They're seeing these polls right now and they're freaking the fuck out. That's why they're trying to do this completely incoherent, untenable position of being like, of course, we're going to still fund all this horrific mass bombing and mass murder and ethnic cleansing, but we're going to feel really bad about it. Number one, here's what we can offer you. To these Arab communities that actually care that we're funding genocide in Palestine, in Gaza. We're going to feel really bad about it, number one, and we're going to form an exploratory committee to talk about Islamophobia while we continue to fund the Palestinian genocide. That's what we have to offer you. I'm sure that's going to go really well. I've seen Trudeau has tried to talk to people in mosques, but most mosques have declined him. Yeah, they've declined him or he gets booed out of the fucking building. Yeah, they're literally saying smaller bombs. Like it's insanity. Yeah, we got tax credits for Arab American small businesses incoming, for sure. That's what they have to offer. Anyway, we heard a decent analysis of this. Now let's hear some bad faith bullshit.
Any chance?
Obama's here to say, if only we're all looking for the guy who did this. In a way, we're all responsible for this. Thank you, Obama. Let's hear what he has to say.
If there's any chance of us being able to act constructively to do something, it will require an admission of complexity.
Not complex.
And maintaining what on the surface may seem contradictory ideas, that what Hamas did was horrific and there's no justification for it. And what is also true is that
two things can be bad, Sweaty.
The occupation and what's happening to Palestinians is unbearable. And what is also true is that there is a history.
He knows the history too. I've been seeing really interesting things about Obama's early career. He knows all of this. He knows about the history of Israel. He knows about the Palestinian cause. And he, in fact, used to support it before he became like an actual political public figure. He knows all about it. He was friends with Edward Said. Yeah, he's like, he knows all of it. That's what makes it even more grotesque, that when he actually got put in a position to do something to stop it, he did nothing. And he did the opposite, actually. He continued to support it. That's psycho shit. He knows that it's wrong. He's a smart guy. He knows the history. He knows the imbalance in power, all the stuff that we talk about, settler colonialism, all this stuff. He knows that history. That's what makes it even more sick. Yeah, it's just pure cynicism. Dead-eyed psychopath. Morally bankrupt coward. That's what makes it even more pathetic. Let's hear more of this.
The Jewish people that may be dismissed unless your grandparents or your great-grandparents or your uncle or your aunt tell you stories about the madness of anti-Semitism. And what is true is that there are people right now who are dying who have nothing to do with what Hamas did. And what is true, right? I mean, we can go on for a while. And the problem with the social media and trying to TikTok activism and trying to debate this on that
TikTok
is you can't speak the truth. You can pretend to speak the truth. You can speak one side of the truth. And in some cases, you can try to maintain your moral innocence, but that won't solve the problem.
Podcasts like Pod Save America
If you
not
want
included
to
in this,
solve
obviously.
The problem, then you have to take in the whole truth. And you then have to admit.
What is clap? Fucking stop clapping.
Nobody's hands are
Are you
clean.
children?
That all of us are complicit to some degree.
Look at his face. He fucking knows. All of us are complicit. Fuck you. All of us are complicit to some degree. Do you fucking hear yourself? You're the president for 8 goddamn years. All of us are complicit in some degree. All of us are complicit in some degree. I'm sorry, no. I did not, and no one in this community signed off on this. This is from September 14th, 2016. Who was president at that time? I can't quite recall. Who was president at that time? U.S. Israel signed $38 billion military aid package. No, but we're really, when you think about it, though, we're all kind of complicit. You know, some people are on social media. They're on TikTok. They're doing TikTok activism. They're not accepting the whole truth, which is that it's complex and complicated. He hasn't said one like concrete thing, by the way, in this rambling bullshit that he's been talking about. Yeah, for sure, Orblady. It's just code for China. Yeah. All of us are complicit. Let me be clear. All of us are in a way or some are complicit. I think some are more complicit than others, actually. I think when some people sign historic $38 billion military aid packages, you're in fact significantly more complicit. That's in my opinion. I think you're significantly more complicit when you sign $38 billion military aid packages. And there's all this stuff, the behind the scenes, the tension with Netanyahu. You know? Yeah, there was so much tension with Netanyahu as they prosecuted the 2014 war on Gaza, which Obama did nothing except continue to support it. That's how much there was tension behind the scenes with this far-right gangster criminal who runs Israel. Rob out here acting like he never gave $14 billion to a murderous regime. It's true. I do that sometimes. A couple times in my life. I'm not proud of it. Listen. I'm not proud of it. There are a couple times in my life when I've given $14 billion to murderous regime and said that it was okay that they did ethnic cleansing. Again, and there's no complexity. There's no complexity. And if you can't even talk about this history and say like, oh, there's no justification for any violence that happened. Like, again, the 2014 Gaza war, which took place under Obama, which with no pushback. You didn't do anything to stop it. The whole settlement program was expanding under Obama, and there was a lot of behind the scenes, oh, we're very concerned about this. We don't like that they're doing this. Maybe there was some tepid criticism. Did it stop him from signing? Did it stop him from signing a $38 billion military aid package? That's how concerned they were about these settlements, which are in total violation of international law. These illegal. Everyone agrees that these settlements are illegal. And there was a lot of hand-wringing and kind of condemnation about these settlements. And did they still sign a $38 billion military aid package at the end of his administration? The end of his administration, when he could have just left and still signed it. It's like you got your close ally is this totally corrupt, illegal autocracy that survives fully on apartheid, ethnic cleansing. It's in constant contravention of international law. And you give them $40 billion when you're on your way out the door. Do you think they're getting incentivized at all to like behave differently? When they get away constantly with every single crime that they're out there committing? Whether it's the settlements or whether it's the constant flagrant crimes that they're committing in Gaza and the West Bank and elsewhere? Do you think they're incentivized to act differently when you then just give them, I'm very concerned about your behavior, but here's $40 billion. No, yeah, I'm sure they're going to really get right on changing their attitude. They're going to get right on changing their strategy. You're killing them with kindness. This would have been even more. We would have given you even more than $40 billion if you had done this, but because you're being criminals, then it's only $40 billion. Yeah, it's very brave. In a way, we're all complicit. It's a complex situation. It's not. We're going to do this, but we'll feel bad about it. Again, that's what you have to choose from if you're American. You can choose from you're going to do the bad thing, but you'll feel bad about it, or you do the bad thing and you don't care. And again, people wonder why people are turning against Biden. Why is Biden polling so badly? Don't they know Trump is bad? Look at the average person. Look at the average person who when COVID was going on, their material conditions improved. Under Trump, some of that was implemented under Biden in the early days of the Biden administration. What has Biden done? He's rolled back all of those meager policies that were put into place to ensure that people's material conditions were improving. The whole reduction in childhood poverty, these expanded unemployment benefits, all of this stuff has been rolled back now under Biden. And then the people see that they can just snap their fingers and fund genocidal bombing campaigns around the world. And they say to abortion gone. Thank you. And they say to young people, so if you care about the climate, you got to support us. Republicans, they don't believe the science. Maybe you'll get a little bit of student debt relief even. You'll get some student debt relief. Nothing. You get nothing. No student debt relief. No new social programs. You get a few environmental policies, which we hold up as being this big, like, massive miracle victory, which amounts to building some new EV factories and solar panel factories in like mostly red states. We're going to reindustrialize some red states with some EV factories and solar panel factories, which all these people hate anyways because Biden's doing it and China bad. So that's what you get if you're a young person. Vote for we're the good guys. We're the good guys. Vote for us. You roll back every single new social program that was put in. You get some bullshit climate legislation, no student debt relief, and we can just snap our fingers and send billions of dollars to Ukraine and Israel at any moment. Which is really just a handout to Americans' weapons manufacturers. Most Israeli military aid just goes directly to American weapons contractors. That's ultimately what that is. In many ways, all of us are complicit. We all have to agree to some degree. We've all been complicit in this. Like, fucking absurd. All of us are complicit to some degree. Some people to more of a degree than others, though, I would say. I think he's significantly more complicit than like me, for example.
I look at this and I think back, what could I have done?
What could I have done? Maybe you could have not given them $40 billion on your way out the door, sir. Maybe that's one thing. What could I have done? I don't know. You're the fucking president, man. You're the fucking president. There's probably a number of things you could have done. I can name a couple things right now. Not giving them $38 billion when your administration was already over and you were leaving anyways. That could be one thing. What would I have done if I was president? Except fully support every single thing that they do with some minor grumbling behind the scenes. Drone strike Obama, wondering what he could have done differently. Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about, Ned Locke. He famously attended pro-Palestine events before being senator and president. That's what I was saying. That's what makes it even more grotesque, is that he knows. He knows the history. He knows about the Palestinian cause. He knows about the violence and brutality inherent to Israel's founding in the first place. He knows this history just as well as anybody. Psycho. What could I have done differently?
During my presidency, to move this forward as hard as I tried. I've got the scars to prove it. But there's a part of me that's still saying, well, was there something else I could have done? That's the conversation we should be having. Not just
come on,
looking
man.
backwards, but looking forward. And that can't happen if we are confining ourselves to our outrage. I would rather
a total
see
non-answer
you
so far.
out there talking to people, including people who you disagree with. If you
go and just talk to the Zionists, talk to the people that like genocide and think genocide is good.
Then you've got to figure out how to speak to somebody on the other side and listen to them.
This fucking
and
loser.
Understand what they are talking about.
We know what they're talking about, asshole.
And not dismiss it.
We understand. We get the fucking argument.
Save that child.
I've been hearing it my whole life.
Not in this situation.
We know what they want. I hate this argument. Whenever it's whether it's about Israel or any other thing, you just got to talk to the other side so you understand them. If you understand them, I understand them. They want to do genocide against Palestinians. They want to ethnically cleanse Palestine. They want one state that they live in called Israel, where there's no Arabs and there's no Palestinians. That's what they want. I understand. I've been listening to them. They've said so. They're not shy about saying this. They're very open and honest about this. Nothing he said. He said nothing in that 2 minutes, except the same bullshit liberal moralizing that all these people are, that's all they're fucking capable of. Pathetic people. And a war criminal himself. Like, not only did he support Israel's great crimes, fully supported them, regardless of whatever, like, behind the scenes condemnations that was going on, fully supported Israel and committed multiple horrific war crimes himself. How's Libya doing right now? How has Libya been doing for the last 10 years? We're almost 10 years out from the NATO intervention in Libya. How's Libya? How's it going there? Drone striking hospitals, funerals, assassinating little kids. Afghanistan. If only there's something I could have done. That just makes me sick. The most radicalizing political figure of my lifetime, bar none. Nowhere, Trump doesn't come anywhere near, and Trump was a radicalizing figure as well, but like, no one comes close to this fucking asshole. No one comes close. He is as responsible as anyone for like where I'm at politically now, right now. I celebrated like everyone around the world in 2008. I was in Biftech on Saint Laurent in Montreal in 2008, watching those election results come in, and I didn't cry. I applauded. I was thrilled, like everyone around the world. I worked for the campaign in 08, says Amazing Bird Show. I'm sure many people did. It's hard to fully accept that he's just a psycho. Exactly. And he's almost a billionaire now. This is what he did when he got out of office. He made a whole bunch of money. He should be in jail. But now he's doing like Netflix documentaries about the gig economy. How did this gig economy happen? You know, this gig economy is really hard to make a living in. Someone should look into that. Don't look into the crossover between the Democratic Party and these like all these tech companies that profit from the gig economy and Silicon Valley. The huge amount of crossover between Silicon Valley and the Democratic Party and Obama staffers. Excuse you, Ro. You also destroyed a public park. Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. And yeah, so then he takes 3 minutes in this clip to say absolutely nothing at all except this pathetic moralizing and blaming like TikTok for people's radicalization and saying you need to speak to the other side and if only there's something I could have done. Like who listens to this anymore? Who are the absolute ghouls in this audience going, finally someone's like saying smart things? Is the stupid person's idea of a smart person. And it's not even true, actually, because he is smart. That's what makes him even more of a psycho. He is smart. And like I was saying, he knows the history. Look at his face right there. You don't think he knows? You gave up your soul, sir. You gave up your soul for power and money. There's nothing more sickening than that. Obama's so good at putting cold water on any progress. I mean, that's what the whole Democratic Party or like the liberal establishment is meant to do. It's meant to absorb actual energy and progress for social movements and absorb it and redirect it into the most reactionary directions. Look at like a Fallout 3 character these days. Look at his eye, look at his expression there. This is a man that knows that he's going to hell. He knows. He knows full well. It's what I've said before. It's like I don't like conservatives or Republicans or reactionaries. I don't like them. I think they're bad people. I almost, at the very least, I'll say this, I can almost respect how they're honest about being bad people and they're open and upfront about being bad people and the fact that they're just power worshipping psychos and they just say that, you know? And I don't like these people, but I at least respect that. What I don't respect is the people who believe all the exact same things, but couch everything that they say in this progressive rhetoric and this kind of like faux intellectual academic kind of bullshit. And they moralize and they use this progressive language and they obscure what their real goals are. Like at least these blood-drinking conservatives are open and honest about the fact that they're just evil monsters. And they're not shy about saying that. These people are evil monsters. People like Obama are evil monsters, but they want everyone to like them. They want everyone to respect them and think that they're pay attention to their progressive values and their liberal values. It makes me absolutely sick.
There are many whites who are trying to solve the problem, but you never see them going under the label of liberals. That white person that you see calling himself a liberal is the most dangerous thing in the entire Western Hemisphere. He's the most deceitful. He's like a fox, and a fox is always more dangerous in the forest than the wolf. You can see the wolf coming. You know what he's up to, but the fox will fool you. He comes at you with his mouth shaped in such a way that even though you see his teeth, you think he's smiling. You take him for a friend.
But Malcolm X got what was coming. He got what he asked for this time. So love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal.
That's why I love listening to Malcolm too, because so much stuff that Malcolm talks about, you can just you almost forget that he died decades ago. You can perfectly graft it onto everything that we're living through today. That's why some of his messages are so valuable. Maybe I'll find that Finkelstein Bernie thing. Yeah, Kwame as well, regime pilled. We watch a lot of his content on here as well. And even like disgusting rapist psycho Bill Clinton even admits at John Lewis's funeral, this absolute psycho talked about how like there was a time when the civil rights movement was like possibly going in that Stokely Carmichael Kwame Ture direction, and thankfully it went in the John Lewis direction. He took a time at John Lewis's funeral to take a shot at Kwame Ture. And it's an all-time historic tragedy that the civil rights movement did not go in that direction and instead got absorbed into the Democratic Party. It got absorbed into the Democratic Party, and they said, "Look, we'll give you this. We got the Civil Rights Act. We got enfranchisement. We're expanding voting rights. And by the way, at the same time, here's this thing called the drug war, and here's this thing called the militarization of the police that we're going to do at the same time to imprison and disenfranchise millions of people of color at the exact same time. While we give you these rights, we would give you these rights. We benevolently bestow upon you these rights." Does anyone? I think it was it Carrier Wave? You were saying that there's like a Norm Finkelstein segment on Bernie. Does anyone have the link? Oh, thanks, Carrier Wave.
U.S.
And Bernie, like at this point, we have to start looking at Bernie as the exact same as Obama. And like I said, I'll always appreciate Bernie as well. Someone that I think opened a door for me and many others that I had to choose to kind of walk through at that point. But again, we criticize Genocide Joe a lot. Bernie's policy completely inseparable from Biden's. So we have to think about Bernie in the exact same way.
Humanitarian pause in Gaza.
This is pathetic. Like everything, every amount of goodwill he had is just squandered now, Bernie.
Require an agreement on both
Pathetic.
sides to halt the fighting. Do you support a ceasefire? And if not, why not?
Well, I don't know how you can have a ceasefire, permanent ceasefire, with an organization like Hamas, which is dedicated.
He even did the Hamas thing.
Turmoil and
fucking
chaos
Bernie.
And destroying the state of Israel. And I think what the Arab countries in the region understand, that Hamas has got to go. So.
Okay. My name is Norm Finkelstein. I heard Bernie Sanders statement this evening opposing a ceasefire.
Leftist audio.
I had planned to spend this evening reading, so I've fallen dreadfully behind in my reading. And unless I keep reading, I can't bring anything fresh and important to what's happening now. But I was so furious at that remark of Bernie's, where he said he opposed the ceasefire. And my innards started to writhe. And I decided I had to respond. Now, this is wholly unrehearsed. There are no special effects to make my remarks more effective. I'm just speaking it as the words go from my brain out into the cyberspace.
Hold on. Before we watch this, just a brief video before we look at Norman Finkelstein's comments.
The question is, what is Dr. Parente's view of Bernie Sanders?
Well, Bernie and I were very close friends for years. He'd come over my house when I lived in Washington, D.C. He came with his kid, and my son was visiting me. I made them dinner. Bernie and I both ran on the Liberty Union ticket in Vermont. I ran for the House of Representatives. Vermont has only one congressman, so you can't get gerrymandered out. But it meant I'd go up and down the whole state, and I got 7% of the vote. Bernie ran for Senate, U.S. Senate. He got 2% of the vote, and very close to Bernie. His last words to me, I remember when he came to Oakland, and he said, "Where have you been? I haven't seen you. Stay in touch with me." I said, "Sure, I will, Bernie." But then came the Yugoslav war, and Bernie sided with President William Clinton. And
any of this sound familiar? Parenti had him clocked, unfortunately.
Days and nights. Depleted uranium, which has left Serbia today with the highest cancer rate in all of Europe. I vigorously opposed that war and wrote a book about it called To Kill a Nation, the attack on Yugoslavia. And Bernie, as I told Huck was a good friend. He was a professor from the university who took a leave to go work in Bernie's office when Bernie was now in the House of Representatives. Bernie went to the House of Representatives. He got elected mayor of Burlington and then House of Representatives and then the U.S. Senate. And now he's doing this try for the presidency. I said, he's standing shoulder to shoulder with NATO and the CIA and the White House and Bill Clinton and these creepos for a war. And that's when I broke with him. I stopped sending contributions. So when I saw that he was running, and I put on the little thing to see some of the events with 10,000 people, I must admit, I sat there and it was very touching and I was so happy to see it. I was very happy to see Bernie getting up there, 10,000 people, and the powers that be have to deal with him in some way now. He's like a big blister in the way, and they got to deal with him. And mostly they don't say too much. They just concentrate on Donald Trump. Yeah, I think it's great. The trouble is he's still not saying anything about foreign policy. He's still not criticizing. The empire feeds off the republic. We don't need an empire with 700 military bases all over the world. We don't need to be fighting 2, 3, 4, 5 wars at the same time. This is crazy. Bernie hasn't said a word about those things. He hasn't. He's just not said anything about it. He's good on local issues. I think he's a liberal Democrat. He's not a socialist or not even really a left progressive. He'd be a good liberal Democrat, but look at what he says. He says, and we want the rich to pay their share too. What do you mean? We want to stop having the rich rule our lives and rule our minds. That's what we want. I think he could do a lot better on that, and he's going to have to say, it's not just me. I was alone years ago about his position on foreign policy, but a number of other people have brought it up now too. So he will have to start saying something about foreign policy, which would put him at odds with the national security state boys who play for keeps. When you get into arguments with them, you got to be careful about your plane crashing or your car skidding and going off the road, or a lone assassin coming over and killing you, as John Lennon happened to him, and a few others, supposedly.
Okay. Worth remembering.
Now,
here's Norman Finkelstein on Bernie.
Bernie said in this interview that he opposed the ceasefire. And his grounds for opposing the ceasefire were that Hamas wanted to destroy Israel, and therefore Hamas has to be destroyed. So let's look at the facts. I'm not going to go all the way back into history. I'm going to just start with 2006. In 2006, there was an election in the West Bank and Gaza, parliamentary elections. Those elections
I didn't mean to start a
urged on
fight
the
about To Kill a Nation, okay? We don't need to relitigate that. I do think it's worth talking about Bernie's squishiness on foreign policy issues and just backing NATO in that case. And there's a direct link between that and currently, to this day, refusing to call a ceasefire when Israel is using U.S. bombs to kill thousands of kids in Palestine.
And Hamas was urged to participate in those elections, and it reversed itself. Hitherto, it opposed participating in any elections in the occupied territories because those elections were a consequence of the Oslo Accord. And since Hamas opposed the Oslo Accord, it opposed participating in the elections. But it reversed itself. It ran in a civilian political party. And much to the surprise of Hamas and everybody else, it won the election. Those were, according to former US President Jimmy Carter, completely fair and honest elections, and Hamas won. What did the US and Israel do? It immediately imposed a brutal blockade on Gaza, which brought economic life in Gaza to a standstill. Now, that's not all it did, but we'll get back to that in a moment. First of all, remind listeners, what is Gaza? It's 25 miles long, it's 5 miles wide, it's a tiny parcel of land. It's among the most densely populated places on God's earth. Half of the population of Gaza consists of children, to which I'll return. 70% of Gaza consists of refugees from the 1948 war, that is, Palestinians who were expelled from the area that became Israel and ended up in Gaza and have remained refugees for 75 years henceforth, living in refugee camps like Jabalia camp, to which I'll also return in a moment. Gaza has been under this blockade for about 20 years, 2 years shy of 20 years. Nobody can go in, nobody can go out. Unemployment in Gaza is about 50% among the population in general, 60% among the youth. It reportedly has the highest rate of unemployment of any area in the world. It suffers from what humanitarian organizations called extreme food insecurity. Nobody can go in, nobody can go out. What is Gaza? Well, one of Israel's senior officials, or in layperson's terms, certified lunatics, named Giora Eiland, E-I-L-A-N-D, for those who want to look it up. In 2006, Giora Eiland, who still is, incidentally, in the inner circle of Benjamin Netanyahu right now as I speak, he described Gaza as, quote, not my words, as a huge concentration camp. That's Gaza. Euphemistically, even Bernie who's ever so politically correct will acknowledge that, well, maybe, he says, it can be described as an open-air prison. Open-air prison, the euphemism, or Fiora Island, a huge concentration camp. Or maybe Baruch Kimmerling, the former senior sociologist at Hebrew University, quote, the largest concentration camp ever to exist. Now, as a matter of law, Richard Goldstone, who authored the famous or infamous, whichever you prefer.
I'll be right back, folks. I just have to go
report
to the bathroom.
After Operation Cast Lead in 2008-9, he said that the blockade of Gaza likely qualifies or rises to a crime against humanity. That's a crime against humanity that's endured for 2 decades. Not a momentary crime against humanity, say dropping a bomb on a hospital or dropping a 2,000-pound bomb on a densely populated refugee camp. Not a momentary crime against humanity, but a crime against humanity that's endured for nearly 2 decades. But bear in mind, it's Hamas that must be defeated because it wants to destroy Israel. Not Israel that must be destroyed because it wants to incarcerate, immure an entire population, half of whom are children, in a concentration camp, which constitutes a crime against humanity. No, Israel doesn't have to be destroyed. Only Hamas has to be destroyed. Well, first of all, is it true? I'm asking you, Bernie, I don't know if you know the facts, and I will grant you that focused as you are on domestic issues, I will grant you probably don't know the facts, and you're entitled not to know them. You know Build Back better than me. And that was your priority. That's always been your priority. And I have to respect that. I saw your speech for the United Auto Workers during the strike. And as much as I've soured on you, I have to acknowledge it was a great speech. I talked to Dr. Cornel West shortly after that speech, and I said it was, really a brilliant speech. And he said to me, well, Bernie was in his element. Workers' strikes, workers' rights, unions, it's Bernie's element. Fine. And I'll grant that in your element, you're good. Actually, you're as good as they get. But, and here I'm going to quote Claire Daly from the European Union. When Ursula von der Leyen, when she decided without any mandate to go over and embrace Israel and say we all stand by Israel, Claire Daly, the Irish representative in the European Union, she said, quote, referring to von der Leyen, she said, quote, if you have nothing constructive to say, shut up. I'm going to repeat that to you, Bernie. If you have nothing constructive to say, shut up. So here are the facts. When Hamas was elected, it repeatedly sent out peace feelers to try to resolve the conflict with Israel. It presented on its own, or as speaking for itself, the terms of the international consensus for resolving the conflict, namely 2 states on the June 1967 border. Now, it's true, because I have no quarrel with facts. I've always been of the opinion that there's no contradiction between truth and the struggle for justice. And if there were a contradiction between the two, it would probably cause me a moral crisis. But at the end of the day, I would come out on the side of truth. Hamas, yes, it's true. There were areas such as its demand for the full implementation of the right of the return of Palestinian refugees to the homes from which they were expelled in 1948. Even though that is the law, I recognize that as part of a settlement, that particular aspect of international law would probably have to be negotiated. I'm not saying I don't want to speak for the Palestinians. I'm rendering as it were, third-party judgment from afar. But there is no question that Hamas was attempting to reach some sort of settlement with Israel.
Similar to Ukraine and
the record
Putin.
is ample in that regard. The documentation, irrefutable and impeachable. What was the Israeli reaction? Well, time won't allow me to go through the entire record, but I will briefly go through it. I have to go through it because my innards writhe at the despicable thing you said in the interview today, whether it was moral idiocy, whether it was exemplary of being a moral monster, or whether it was cynical opportunism, because you're too much of a coward to break ranks with President Biden. I don't know which it is, but here's the record. The record can be summarized.
He's not pulling his punches on this.
In a phrase that became very popular in the Israeli administration. It's called mowing the lawn. It happens that this lawn called Gaza.
Holy shit, Dakadoon says there seems to be some kind of internal power struggle happening in Ukraine. One of Zelensky's aides was just assassinated. Oh shit. It's already turning into a fucking feeding frenzy now that they realize that the well has dried up. Incoming terrorist-run failed state. Not Zelensky the general. Okay, I thought that was like okay, you spelled it wrong. I thought that was like a funny nickname that you were doing, Dakadoon. But yeah, it seems like there's a jockeying for power now that they realize the well has dried up. I'm sure that's going to go really great. Corruption in Ukraine? What? I thought it was the beautiful, shining beacon of democracy, protecting the world from Asiatic hordes. You're saying it's corrupt? This is the first time hearing of this. Yeah, just make the BlackRock CEO the new president. Exactly. Like that's what the whole thing has been for, to benefit those guys. So you might as well just like get it all, put all your cards on the table.
1,100,000 blades of grass in that lawn are children. So, whenever that satanic government,
BlackRock CEO married to that of UNICEF.
I choose my words
Jesus Christ.
Carefully and with premeditation. Whenever that satanic government refers to mowing the lawn, we should bear in mind that 1,100,000 blades of grass in that lawn are children. But Bernie Sanders, the senator from Vermont, he says Israel must destroy Hamas because Hamas wants to destroy Israel. Yes, Bernie, you're so right. You are so right, Bernie.
Why do they want to destroy Israel? That's messed up. They must have just decided one day.
Israel didn't want to destroy Gaza. It just wanted to mow the lawn. You're so right, Bernie. I am so appreciative of your moral niceties and nuances. Hamas must be destroyed because it wants to destroy Israel. But Israel, does it have to be destroyed?
No one knows. There's no history.
Israel doesn't want to destroy.
They hate Israel for their
Gaza,
freedom.
or at least until October 7th. It just wants to mow the lawn. That's your moral calculus, Bernie. Your sick, ill, morbid moral calculus. So, Hamas, that terrible, evil organization, it wants to destroy Israel, and that's why Hamas has to be destroyed. So in June 2008, there was a ceasefire arranged between Israel and Hamas. That evil Hamas, oh my goodness gracious, as Cornell Dr. West would say, my goodness gracious, that evil, perfidious Hamas, it negotiated a ceasefire. And then what happened? The ceasefire held in June, it held in July.
Has Bernie seen any of these thousands of pictures of children being bombed in Gaza? Yeah, I assume that he has. And he thinks that Hamas has to be destroyed in order for that to stop. He has an identical policy to fucking Ben Shapiro, who says, yeah, it's a terrible tragedy, but it's Hamas's fault. And until as long as Hamas is around, the killing of children will continue. It's it's the exact same viewpoint of both Bernie and Ben Shapiro on this. That's good stuff.
November 4th came along. When those
for sure, carrier wave.
Are short, that was election day.
He knows the history, and unlike Obama, he actually respects that.
Was riveted on the presidential election.
No, the bombs aren't even getting Hamas. The U.S. military has acknowledged this. They're like, they haven't damaged Hamas in any way.
And Israel.
That's what the U.S. military advisors are saying.
When all the cameras were diverted from it, it used that moment to attack Hamas in Gaza and broke the ceasefire. Not evil, perfidious Hamas, but beautiful, wonderful Israel. Now, that's not my word. Go back and read what Amnesty International said. In fact, even the official Israeli publications, which I cite in my book, state the ceasefire held until Israel broke it. And then Israel proceeded to do what it does best. It proceeded to commit a high-tech massacre in Gaza, killed about 1,400 people. Of those 1,400, 350 were children. It systematically devastated the infrastructure in Gaza. And
that's great GMO radio. I love living in our free, democratic, free speech.
Multiple war crimes and possibly
land
crimes against humanity. Now, here's a point for you, Bernie. I barely can say that name anymore without being filled with contempt and disgust.
Really, Norm? I couldn't tell.
I worked very hard in that 2016 campaign, and I worked very hard on that 2020 campaign.
Did you see Scott Ritter? We're not big Scott Ritter supporters on this channel. I think if you want to talk about what NATO is bad, I think there's other people that we can listen to besides Scott Ritter on that.
The canvas for you. And now it's a bitter memory when I hear your statements. So here's a fact for you, Bernie. As I mentioned to you, about 1,400 people were killed in Gaza. The estimates are 4/5 were civilians.
I'm going to lose the Ritter heads.
1/5 or 20% were.
If you like his takes, there's plenty of people that are having similar takes.
If you look at what happened on October 7th,
there's no shortage of people that you can find that are going to tell you that NATO is bad. You know, I'm one of them.
About 1,400
I agree.
civilians were killed after the prison breakout.
Not the Ritter critters. Oh my.
Gaza. The numbers I've seen are about 400 were combatants among the Israelis killed. But roughly speaking, the numbers
The Ritterati.
balance out.
Oh my goodness.
So here's my question for you, Bernie. And I'm dead serious. This ain't a joke. I'm not talking about scoring debating points. It's about people, to quote the Warsaw Ghetto Resistance song. It's really the partisan song, but the Warsaw Ghetto Resistance song. And one lyric goes, "'Twas a people amidst the crashing fires of hell. 'Twas a people amidst the crashing fires of hell." And that's the people of Gaza now, Bernie. 'Twas a people who are now.
If Finkelstein wants to debate Chuck Schumer, I would love to watch that. I would actually love to see him debate Amy Schumer. That'd be even better.
And Bernie Sanders is on record saying,
I want to see Norm and Amy go at it in the marketplace of ideas.
Here's the question, Bernie. You say that because of what Hamas did on October 7th, they proved that they can't be lived with and they have to be destroyed. Now, if that be the case, and if I've accurately rendered the historical record, as I'm very confident I have, then if the numbers are roughly the same, and it's undisputed that Israel broke the ceasefire, why don't you conclude on the basis of just Operation Cast Lead, just in that one operation, that one mowing of the lawn, why don't you conclude that...
Well, they did drop some new info on Hamas subverting the IDF AI systems. Apparently, they spoofed their movements and agent IDs for months prior to the attack. There was a whole thing of like getting, like using women to like trick these IDF guys into giving them information and stuff. This operation was going on for a long time. It's quite interesting, actually.
Israel must be destroyed. You came to the realization after October.
This is some
7th,
guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hello, Dr. Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Awesome, for the raid. I hope your stream is good. How is the Dr. Awesome raid? Thank you. Welcome, raiders. I'm Rob. It me. Hello. Nice to see you.
Hamas had to be destroyed. So, logically, if roughly the same numbers of people were killed, then Israel has to be destroyed. But you're going to say, no, you're going to shake your head. I already know every one of your facial gestures. I listened to you in 2016 and 2020, every night, every debate, listen to you again and again. You're going to, you're going to say, you're going to shake your head. It's different. Because Hamas wants to destroy Israel. Israel doesn't want to destroy Gaza. No, you're right, Bernie. Up until October
They very
7th,
much do.
You were right. Israel didn't want to destroy Gaza. It just wanted to leave the 2.3 million people, half of whom are children, immured in the concentration camp to languish and die. You're right, Bernie. It's different. Hamas wants to destroy Israel. But all Israel wants to do, it's not really a big deal. Let's be for real. All Israel wanted to do was immure 2,300,000 people in a concentration camp and leave them there to die. So that's
while bombing them once a year and mowing the lawn, like Norm says.
Moral subtlety. You know how philosophers love nuance. They love complexity. They love nicety. Evil Hamas, it wants to destroy Israel. Whereas Israel, all it wants to do is lock 2.3 million people in a concentration camp for life. If you go to Operation Pillar of Defense, it happened, and I don't have time to go through the details now. It happened that after Operation Cast Lead, there was a slight relaxing of the brutal blockade of Gaza. And it enabled, it was probably just a temporary blip. That's what Sarah Roy has written, the Harvard economist. And of course, I defer to her judgment. She's the world's leading authority in Gaza's economy. She said it was probably just a temporary blip. But the fact is, the Gaza economy did show some signs of recovery. And there was also money starting to pour in from Qatar. The head of state of Turkey, Erdogan, was planning on a visit to Gaza. And this annoyed the heck out of Israel because Gaza was not supposed to prosper. Again, relatively speaking, when I speak of prosperity, it wasn't supposed to prosper. So what did it do? Record is clear. It assassinated a senior Hamas official. It happened that this senior Hamas official named Jabari, he was the main contact with the Israeli government. He was the one responsible for negotiating the ceasefires with Israel. And at the moment he was assassinated, he was in the midst of negotiating a long-term ceasefire with Israel. You hear that, Bernie? Those evil, perfidious, devilish Hamas leaders, they were so perfidious that they were planning to negotiate a long-term ceasefire with Israel. So what did Israel do? They killed him, and then began Operation Pillar of Defense. And then in 2014, it's time to mow the lawn again. Without going into the details, by the end, Israel killed not 1,400 Palestinians, as Israelis were killed on October 7th. They killed 2,200 Palestinians, of whom 550 were children. They demolished 18,000 homes. Peter Moore, the head of the president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, whose job is to tour war zones. That's his resume, his CV, to tour war zones. After he toured Gaza, he said never in his professional life had he seen destruction of the magnitude that he witnessed in Gaza. But it's Hamas that has to be destroyed.
The neo-colonialists have got the method down, slowly and surely mowing the lawn and creeping in.
Israel.
Also provoking an attack, which you then use to justify further violence, pinkwashing your violence and colonialism, using the human rights and gay rights language. All the different.
That's not even a conceivable concept.
Every different part of the checklist is being used
because they're evil. They're evil incarnate. They're so evil that they negotiate ceasefires. They stand by ceasefires. They
the full playbook, yeah,
to restore the devastated economy in Gaza. That's pristine, distilled, evil incarnate. And then comes October 7th. I've spoken about it at length to the point of tedium, so I'm not going to repeat myself in this response to you, Bernie.
Basically just Zionists saying horrible things to LGBTQ people who stand with Palestine. I mean, they released that whole, like, their top-rated satire program, which is just the most unfunny dog shit I've ever seen. But it's totally just like mocking American college students and like just mocking them for being queer as well. That's how much they support these marginalized communities. Absolutely pathetic.
But I have to say, with all due respect, the things you've been saying since October 7th, you're positively ill.
Absolutely up
now,
their
I know
heads.
you're thinking, well, I've heard some of the things you said.
Really good point. Looking forward to this movement turning inwards to look at Native American First Peoples reservations in comparison to Gaza, or just our status as a settler colony that's founded on and fueled by the ongoing genocide of indigenous people. That's what people say. Rob, you don't think Israel has a right to exist? You think Israel should just cease to exist, Rob? That's anti-Semitic. Surely you live in Canada. Surely you think Canada should exist? And the answer is, no, I do not. No, I do not think Canada has a right to exist. So yeah, I agree. I think we do need to have a conversation about that.
And I think they're ill. Fair enough. However, we can disagree on that. And we can disagree forcefully on that. But
this is why they try to put down these movements, because they know liberation is contagious. Yeah, they've tried everything they can to try and subdue these protests. And the police violence is the next step. I'm sure we're on that path.
I'm going to say that again. You become a moral monster. I read yesterday your tweet. Now, you'll forgive me for not getting it verbatim correctly. But you said, not me, you said in that tweet yesterday, Israel is indiscriminately bombing hospitals, bombing schools, killing civilians. You said that. And I'll ask the people who are recording this video to post right as I recite these remarks, which I acknowledge are a paraphrase of what you said yesterday. Now, when you oppose, I should say, when you oppose a ceasefire at this point, you are in effect and in fact, you are in effect and in fact giving Israel carte blanche to continue to indiscriminately target the civilian infrastructure and the civilian population of Gaza, 1 million of whom, or 1,100,000 of whom,
it's true,
are children. You have become a moral monster. And
it's
don't
true.
say, of course I oppose that. Of course you oppose that. And you think Israel will stop doing that because Bernie Sanders tells them to? You think all of a sudden now they're going to cease targeting hospitals with the plural, hospitals? You think they're going to cease targeting ambulances? Do you think they're going to cease targeting civilian dwellings? 42 or more % of the housing, the homes.
It looks like an atom bomb went off in Gaza.
70% of whom and their descendants already lost their homes in 1948 and now lost them again. The 50% who are children no longer have a roof over their head. The little toys that they had, the family pictures that they kept, everything now in rubble. And buried beneath the rubble, there are still thousands of children. And you just gave the green light to continue the destruction of Gaza. 'Twas a people midst the crashing fires of hell. And now 'tis a people amidst the crashing of fires of hell, with the stamp of approval from Bernie Sanders. What a pitiful shame. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
God damn. Yeah, as you were saying, Norman Finkelstein, not one to pull his punches. There's a couple of things else that I wanted to look at. I wanted to look at Eugene and VJ's speeches from the rally in DC. I wanted to talk about as well. I probably missed my opportunity to do this because we talked about like the Canadian media responding to all the protests in Canada and the hundreds of thousands of people that were marching in between Montreal and Toronto and everywhere else in Canada where there were protests this weekend, and how that was totally basically ignored by our media. CBC did a little bit of stuff on it, but more or less ignored. And I thought the amazing thing as well is you saw the whole situation with there apparently someone had a swastika. There was a tactically deployed swastika at one of these protests, and the only thing that Justin Trudeau said, Genocide Justin, the only thing that he said is like, well, it's not acceptable that someone would display a swastika, and basically suggesting that these pro-Palestine protests are like Nazi adjacent. Like that's basically what the crux of that was. That was all Justin Trudeau, Genocide Justin. That's all he said about these mass protests. Let me see if I can find the tweet. Like, this is how they fucking try to justify their genocidal violence. When we see or hear hateful language and imagery, we must condemn it. The display of a swastika by an individual on Parliament Hill is unacceptable. Canadians have the right to assemble peacefully, but we cannot tolerate anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, or hate of any kind. And it's especially rich coming from a guy who literally a few weeks ago gave a standing ovation to a literal Nazi in our parliament. So that's pretty rich in and of itself. But let's look at this Nazi display. I've got Davide Mastracci here saying the blurry image of a swastika at a Palestine protest in Ottawa was taken by a former communications director for Israel, shared by a pro-Israel lobby group, and then boosted by Canada's most prominent politicians. And here's this sign. This was the sign that someone had. It wasn't someone carrying around a Nazi sign. Sorry, I didn't realize you couldn't see what was on the screen. It wasn't someone carrying around a swastika or a Nazi sign. It was someone carrying a sign, which is provocative, certainly, that says Zionism equals Nazism with a swastika. And that's the swastika that Justin Trudeau is talking about in our whole media class, and all our political figures were condemning the swastika that was on display as part of this rally. So it's suggested that it's like a Nazi thing. It's like Nazi adjacent to not want a mass bombing and mass murder campaign of Palestinians. It's Nazi adjacent, basically, when this is the actual sign that they were condemning, someone that had a Zionism equals Nazism sign. From the CIJA, swastika seen on Parliament Hill today. We expect all to speak up and condemn this overt symbol of anti-Semitic hatred immediately. Yeah, and it's someone holding a sign that says Zionism equals Nazism. To show how fucking gross that is. And also, you'll notice that it's not anti-Semitic to use a swastika if you want to compare Hamas to Nazis, which the Israelis have been doing. They've been saying that there's no difference from the Nazis, and there's been signs as such at rallies that are in support of Israel, as Jeremy Appel pointed out. Here's a swastika being brandished at a pro-Israel protest in Calgary on October 29th. Why is it okay to compare the Palestinians killing 1,400 Israelis to Nazism, but a possible hate crime to compare Israel killing 10,000 plus Palestinians to Nazism? There it is, at a pro-Israel rally. So that's our only comment from our leader about this mass protest movement. Hundreds of thousands of people across Canada protesting in support of Palestine, it gets turned into like a pro-Nazi thing because someone had a sign, which, while provocative, is simply making the equation, which is there's a lot of actual documentation and plenty of commentary and research to back up the similarities between Zionism and Nazism. It's not some controversial fringe idea. I mean, it's the Zionists, it's Israel currently keeping 2 million plus people in a concentration camp, which they're dropping thousands of bombs on and mass killing thousands of people, including children. It should not be surprising to anyone that they're being compared to Nazis and fascists. But then they suggest that this swastika was part of some like Nazi thing. It's so fucking insidious and just absolutely grotesque, the lengths that our political leaders are going to whitewash their own complicity in the mass murder of thousands of people and to delegitimize anyone that tries to stand up and say that they're against it. You know, it's cowardly and it's pathetic and it's disgusting. Before we got to go, we can't watch the whole thing, and I do have to go. I've got about another half an hour to go.
Hey, I'm here to talk about the beard hedger from...
I don't want to hear from Manscaped. Jesus. Fucking Christ.
The masses of this country and of this...
I just wanted to see, I know there's plenty of really great stuff in this speech. It's 4 hours, the entire event. A lot of people, some of the people in this community were there. I would like to watch every speech, but since I'm running low on time, I would just like to watch the final speeches, which is Eugene Perrier, friend of the show, and Vijay Prashad, another friend of the show. Okay, are they on here? Some man on the street stuff. There's Eugene. And again, it's a huge point of pride for me that I've been able to talk to and cultivate relationships with some of these people. Very inspiring. Eugene's a great journalist, but he's a really good public speaker when it comes down to these moments. Let's hear from Eugene.
We're almost closing. We're almost ready to march. Are you ready to march? We have with us a leader of the leading revolutionary party in the United States, the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Oh, people are very upset about this.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Long live Palestine! Long live Palestine! You know, they always ask us when we go out, they say, will you condemn this and that? Well, I'll tell you what I want to condemn, and that's 106 years of the theft of Palestinian land at the prison and the Holocaust.
Eugene absolutely rocks.
They've killed tens of thousands of Palestinian people. Even before what we've seen now, they've killed thousands of children. From 2000 to just this year before this conflict, they were killing 100 children every year. That's what I condemn, the brutality of the Israeli apartheid forces. The whole reason why the world is standing up right now is because our hearts are in Palestine, because we know it's one of the purest struggles for liberation in the world today. So of course they want to demonize it. But let me tell you this, when the indigenous people in this country stood for their land, they demonized them. When the enslaved people of this country in Haiti rose to defend their human rights, they demonized them. When the people of Algeria rose for their human rights, they demonized them. So we're not going to allow the Palestinians to be demonized. They have the right to stand up, the right to defend themselves, and the right to resist. Free, free Palestine! 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 Free, free Palestine!
Short and sweet from Eugene. He's just tremendous. Orb Lady was there as well.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, we are your worst nightmare. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, you are a war criminal. President Joe Biden, you are a war criminal. Prosecutor Karim Khan of the International Criminal Court, we put you on notice. You, Karim Khan, have to file warrants for arrest of Benjamin Netanyahu, war criminal, for Joe Biden, war criminal. We are the future. They are the past. This is the largest pro-Palestine demonstration in U.S. history. This is the largest demonstration for Palestine in U.S. history, and this will never be forgotten. This is not the culmination of anything. This is the beginning. This is the beginning. This is where it starts. It starts here. We march from here. We tell them from here. History begins now. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
We're not going to stop saying it. I always shock myself when I go to this camera angle. It's always kind of jarring. I kind of like it though. I don't know. Maybe I got to bring that back. Big Rob. We'll have to organize a meetup if we get the chance. Well, definitely when the DNC happens, there's going to be a big protest around that. So I'm planning on being there. Like, I'm planning on being there at the DNC when that happens. So if folks want to have a meetup, if we want to hang out, if we want to go and protest and yell at Genocide Joe together, we can do that. We can do that at the DNC, which I think is in Milwaukee, I believe. Anyway, I'm getting to the end of my coverage for today. Okay, that's in Chicago, and the RNC is in Milwaukee. Okay. Well, Chicago. Yeah. Chicago. The Bears. Right? The Bears. I'm scared of President Kamala, but what result isn't scary? I mean, I think the more likely result is President Gavin Newsom, but Ditka is given. But I don't even know if that's going to happen. It's more likely looking like it's going to be Trump, unless they actually do lock his ass up, and then who knows what's going to happen at that point. Yeah, no alarming historical precedent there. Yeah, exactly. No, I'm sure it's going to be fine. God, the sun is setting already. We're really there. It's 4:09 p.m. The sun's going down. That's so depressing. Chicago might be your best accent. I'm sure it's not offensive to anybody from the region. Polish sausage. Bears. We're really doing the whole winter thing. We really are. Yes. Why do we do it for ourselves? It's so stupid. I don't know, Sam. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Anyway, I do have to get going in about 20 minutes to pick up my kid from school. Ditka accent is Pittsburgh, but no, but they say it's the guys from Chicago, and they say Ditka because he was the Bears coach. Sausage. Chicago does have good Mexican food. I've eaten a burrito in Chicago and it's tremendous. So I'm coming to the end of my coverage for today, folks. This has been a great one. I have enjoyed spending time with you as always. The Bears. I am, as you can see, a mere 23 subs away from the goal. So if you have enjoyed my coverage of this today, if you enjoyed the commentary, if you like this show and you like being part of this community, please, if you can, subscribe to TRRS. As you know, the only way that I'm able to continue doing this show each and every day is if I make this stupid little number at the bottom of the screen go up. It's my blessing and my curse. So if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. It's $5 a month to subscribe. It's completely free of charge with an Amazon Prime account. You can support me in the work that I do on here. You can support the community. You get all the tiny little images, some of the very best tiny little images on the entire platform of Twitch.
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Svidler on the roof, thanks for the gifted sub. You can also gift subs if you want to become a elite member of the Friendship Triangle system. That's the Friendship Triangles, Twitch's only two-dimensional triangle-shaped friendship access and trickle-down clout tiered reward system. It is the only such system that exists here on twitch.tv. So if you can, please subscribe. Every little bit helps. We're a mere 22 subs away. It's in reach. It's within reach. It's within grasp. Only 22 subs away. So if you can, folks, please subscribe.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
To TRRS. Thank you, Clobocop, for the gifted sub and for all the support lately. Thank you, Clobocop. Clobocop actually leading the monthly gift sub leaderboard, if that means anything.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old
if that
Rob
means anything
to talk you
anybody.
through all this.
Once you've achieved a sufficient level of clout, you too will receive your very own golden badge. That's right. Thank you, Progressive Canuck. It's a golden badge for our most valued community members. And thank you, Amazing Bird Show, as well, for the gifted sub. Thank you, Amazing Bird Show. And we're only 20 subs away, folks. We are only 20 subs away from the goal. Globocop's laying down a challenge to take the number 1 spot. And as you know, folks, I do not enjoy this segment. It's my least favorite part of doing this show, which I otherwise love to do. I love to hang out with each of you every day and talk about these things. This is my least favorite part. But I hope everyone understands that in order for me to continue doing this show, the number must go up. The line must go up. And we're a mere 20 subs away. We got another Not All Brits segment as well.
Fucking innocent people are having to fucking endure because the fucking world is standing by and doing fucking nothing. Our fucking Prime Minister, they took a vote tonight at the UN General Assembly to call for a truce, and this fucking country did nothing. Sat its fucking ass sidle did nothing. Rishi fucking Sunak,
You can
our
count
Prime
on me.
Minister,
You're gonna have
did
good old
nothing.
Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Wigion29, for the Prime. Brand new community member. I really appreciate the Prime. Fucking nothing. I love it. There's some great drunk British punters as well that were saying some great shit about this. I'll try to find that clip as well. It's fucking Minjin.
was meant to be our Prime Minister, and he could have fucking stood up and been countered and fucking said, no, we want a truce. We need a ceasefire.
You can count on me.
And he
You're
kept
going to
his
have good
fucking
old
mouth
Rob
shut.
to talk you
Fucking
through all
shame on
this.
him. Fucking prick. Absolute shame on him. Fucking war criminal.
I love
he's
this
fucking
guy.
supporting this genocide. That's what he's doing.
Thank you,
There's
Dr.
definitely
Maggot,
destruction
for the
going on
gifted
over
sub.
there, and he could have stood up and been fucking countered and said no. But he didn't fucking do it. He kept his fucking mouth shut. While all them fucking innocent people are getting relentlessly fucking bombed and killed mercilessly
You
at the
can
hands
count
of
on
this
me.
fucking
You're gonna
terrorist
have good
state
old
Israel,
Rob to
our
talk you
country
through all
did
this.
fucking nothing.
Thank you,
I am
Eigenbat,
ashamed to be fucking British tonight. I am
for the gifted
fucking
sub as well.
disgusted. Absolutely ashamed to be British. That my fucking country would stand
I'm
idle
ashamed even
and
to be
allow this
remotely
shit to go
connected
on.
to Britain.
This is not the fucking British values that I stand for. This is not what I fucking stand for. The killing, a merciless killing of fucking innocent people. Fucking shame on Rishi Sunak and shame on Keir Starmer. But don't you worry about it, because the fucking British public will fucking judge you. You will not get off. You will fucking not get off. History will fucking judge you as a genocidal fucking perpetrator and a fucking war criminal. I am absolutely disgusted. The fucking the terrorist state Israel is just allowed to relentlessly kill people with no fucking discrimination. Everyone can get it, and the world leaders do fucking nothing. I think 42 countries abstained. 42, I believe it was, abstained from voting. 42 fucking cowards and 42 fucking war criminals. While all them fucking innocent fucking babies and fucking mothers and fucking fathers are getting fucking shelled relentlessly, they've done nothing. A genocide is going on, it's unfolding right in front of our fucking eyes, and they did fucking nothing to stop it. What has happened to humanity?
This guy's spitting.
Is this what we stand for? Is
He's
this
cooking.
What life's all about now? We don't do no well. People are just getting killed mercilessly.
God damn, dude. Love that guy. Here's the punters. Oh, Dasketo, that's really cool. This is what the establishment is most afraid of. Once we have full punter solidarity. What exactly is a punter? That's actually a good question. I don't totally know the answer to that question. Maybe one of our British friends could enlighten us. It was just down the road from a Rangers pub where the opposite happened. Okay. Interesting. Fuck Israel. Simple as. It's an apartheid ethno-state, innit? That's like the average, like, intellectual is like, well, right to defend itself.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old.
And one of
Rob
these guys
to,
is just
talk you
like,
through all this.
It's fucking settler colonialism, innit? Thank you, Anon, for the gifted sub. That's very kind of you. I did see the Israel flag being taken down at the Eagles game. That was interesting. Yeah. Thank you, Anon. I really appreciate it. We're up to 19, folks. We are a minor 16 subs away. We're 16 subs away from hitting the goal. It's within grasp.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Not by Eagles fans. It was taken down by, I think, the ownership. Thank you, Crackety Kraken, for the 100 friend coin. So a mere 19 subs away, folks, and we're getting close to the end of this hype train. A couple more gifted subs could extend the hype train. And I am sorry to have to do this. I genuinely apologize. But a mere 16 subs away. It's within grasp, folks. The goal is within grasp.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
This hype train is Israeli propaganda.
I hope not. Why so dankness? Thank you for the 420 friend coin. The weed number. That's the weed number. Thank you, Why so dankness, for that.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And hey, thank you, Dr. Maggot, for another gifted sub. And thank you, Svidler on the Roof, for a gifted sub.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through
Svidler, who
all
just
this.
came here from a raid the other day. That's wonderful. I only gift in unserious numbers. Well, I appreciate it. The Eagles think of some rich guy hung an Israel USA flag from his box and got kicked out for not taking it down. It's honestly surprising that happened. I'll never forgive Rob for how he says Capri Sun. That's actually how it's pronounced. I contacted the company and they did confirm that is how it's pronounced. So it's unfortunately you who's saying it wrong.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Whyso Dagnus, for, I don't know how, 138 friend coin. Thank you, Whyso Dagnus. And thank you, I appreciate that one who reads. I always feel self-conscious about it, so I always feel the need to apologize for trying to earn a small living from doing this stream. Rob only pronounces things the correct way. Thank you, Cinnamon Challenge. Thank you for that. So, folks, only 14 subs away. That's actually 2 69s. Okay, good. The Eagles guy's the son of a former AFL-CIO president. Hell yeah. Go Birds. A mere minor, measly 14 subs to go to get to the goal, folks. Are there any other brave heroes that would like to support this stream and support this community? The rich guy that got kicked out. Oh, okay. That's less cool. That is less cool.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Sag Passions. First 5 gifted subs in the channel from Sag Passions. I appreciate that so much, Sag Passions. That is so kind of you. Thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. George Norcross apparently is a prominent Democratic Party guy in the New Jersey area. So that's the guy that had the sign. Okay. Well, I'm glad that he got kicked out. I don't know what was behind him getting kicked out and the flag getting taken down, but I think it's funny. I think it's funny that the professional football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, fully support Hamas. Hamas. That's the evolution of the Democratic Party for sure. His dad was a labor boss. Now he's a big time Zionist. That's right. That's where the Democratic Party leads you. Labor boss to being incredibly rich. I wonder if that has anything to do with purging socialists from the labor movement during the Red Scare. I wonder if that has any if there's any connection there. So we're only 9 subs away, folks. We're only 9 subs away from the goal. Is there anyone else there? Is there anyone else out there brave enough and strong enough to support the work that I do here on Twitch and subscribe to this program? I've been really trying not to break up the commentary that I do during the day to try and raise funds. I really just leave everything kind of to the end here, which I don't know if that's the best way of doing it, but it's it just seems like it makes the most sense. Lately, buy 5 subs to condemn Hamas. That's right. If you really want to condemn Hamas, that's the way to do it. That is the way to do it. Only 9 subs to go, folks. Just a few brave heroes. A few brave heroes could step forth and subscribe to TRRS. There is also a new alert as well. Don't gift anonymously if that's the case. I will say that if anyone out there ever feels like gifting 20 subs in a row, which is a lot.
Count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob.
That's a lot of subs. I get it, but it does.
DSA Rose, DSA Rose.
It does trigger a brand new alert, a brand new, very exciting alert for our very, very generous 20 sub gifters. Not Anon though, because if you're Anon, it's not going to work, as we discovered on Friday. Spaceman Zador 10. Thanks for the Prime. 3 months of Prime. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And now only 8 to go. Well, we got 150 viewers, 8 subs to go. This MF said, let's goop. What are you, Gwyneth Paltrow over here?
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Why So Dankness. IDF, get in my tunnels. Thank you, Why So Dankness, for the friend coin. I appreciate it. 8 subs to go, friends. Only 8 measly subs to go to get to the goal. Who's going to be the hero that's going to step up? Wouldn't it feel great to be the one? To be the one to push TRRS over the limit for today? Wouldn't it feel great to drag my tired ass across the finish line? I forgot to mention, actually, that's another reason that I'm tired, is that I went out last night.
Old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Diego, for the gifted sub and for all the support. Thank you, Diego. I love you, Diego. Thank you. I forgot to mention, that's why I'm also tired, is because I went out last night. It was my friend Nashua's birthday. We went out last night and got some, did some cutting some stickers and celebrating Nashua's birthday. I got some really cool stickers though. How do you use Prime to sub? I think if you have an Amazon Prime account, then you can, when you go to subscribe, you can select the Prime option. Totally free of charge. I didn't realize this is like back. Oh. There's the problem. There's the problem. It's upside down. I was like, what is this? Why does it look like gibberish? It's because it's upside down. That's why. There's that. This one. I put these up around my neighborhood. Rob was out late. He stayed up until 9:30. I literally came home from the bar at 9:30. I did stay up till probably midnight, but I was home by about 9:45. Let's be real here. Let's be honest here. This one's really cool. Leaves before the bar gets packed. Hell yeah. That's how you do it. And there's this one too.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship
goodness,
Triangle.
Squatch. Why So Dankness, thanks for another 55 friend coin. And thank you, Squatch. Thank you, Squatch Drew. For the 5 gifted subs. That's so kind of you, Squatch Drew. Bailing me out as usual. Bailing me out as usual. Thank you, Squatch Drew. Very, very kind of you. And now we're a mere measly 2 subs away, folks. We're a measly 2 subs away from the goal. And then I'm going to be good until tomorrow when I come back here. And the next day. Because this is my life now. This is my life. I come on here and I make the little number go up. But in the meantime, while the number is going up, we're also having some important discussions and conversations. We're having a wonderful little community with each other. We're keeping ourselves sane. We're an island of sanity, being just inundated by the most grotesque propaganda we've seen in our lifetimes. So, it's not all bad, okay? It is not all bad. gotta feed the monkey, as the dude says. That's right. So who wants to step up? Who is the brave hero that is going to step up? 2 subs is nothing. That is absolutely nothing. Who is the brave hero that's going to step up and make the number into the good number? I know for sure there's someone out there right now. I'm officially throwing down the gauntlet. Do not miss this challenge. I challenge to not laugh. And I will step up. We can count on good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You can count on me. You're
Oh
gonna
my
have good
goodness,
old
why
Rob
so
to
dankness?
talk you through all this.
Why so dankness, indeed. Thank you for the 2 gifted subs. Thanks for all the support. Why so dankness? And then thank you for the support, everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you, folks. I would not be able to do this show if there wasn't an audience out there, a community out there that supported the work that I do. And I cannot tell you, I'll say this every day, I cannot tell you how much it means to me that I'm able to do that. Okay, so this is the Do Not Laugh challenge. Should be no problem. Ah, Jesus. I just realized now that Orb Lady called me Small Rob like 30 minutes ago and I didn't pick up on it. God damn it. Here it is. Me this morning. And I will not laugh.
Excuse me, white man, what's your stance on Palestine? White man, Blanco, Gringo, what's your stance on Palestine? Hello? Hello? Hello, Egghead, can you talk? Fellow Egghead, hello, Egghead.
Talking about egg?
Excuse me, white man, what's your...
God damn it. I was actually laughing. There's that one of the funniest thing that's ever happened on this show is when we were making fun of that like news article about like North Korea and how they said like you're not allowed to laugh while they're in this state mandated mourning period. No one is allowed to laugh.
You're gonna have good old
Remember
Rob
that?
to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thank you for another gifted sub. I really appreciate that, Dr. Maggot. And then we were trying to do a whole stream where no one was allowed to laugh. And then at one point I laughed, like, because when you're trying not to, it's so much more impossible. And at one point I just laughed so hard. Classic. Straight to jail. I wonder if I could find that clip. It's so hard to find those clips. That's how they get you. Laughing all the way to the gulag. That's right. Can't see the title. Hold on, I think I found it here. This really was great. Humor talk. You can see my style has really changed throughout that time. I really evolved my style and my fashion. Always good to hang out with people who don't make me feel insane. Absolutely, Midnight Snack. It's been a very, very crucial, I think, having this community, being able to talk about this stuff. Because people were saying not to laugh in the chat. It was making me laugh so much harder.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old
We simply
Rob to
use
talk
the
through
computer
all
to mark
this.
up the size of the account.
We ought to push the train in remembrance of all the trains pushed during Kim's time and how Korea.
Humor talk. Eliak. Thank you, Eliak, for the gifted sub. Your very first gifted sub in the channel. Thank you, Eliak. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Very funny. Very funny. Okay, where am I going here? Where are we doing? I gotta go. What time is it? Oh, it's late. I gotta go. I can't believe it's dark. That's so depressing. The lighting on the stream looks better because now it's dark outside, but at what cost? At what cost? It is nicer than forest fire season, that's true. Anyway, thanks folks. Thanks for hanging out, as always. Thanks for supporting the show, as always. I appreciate each and every one of you so, so very much. Please, let's do what we can to make sure Hildebeest is as flustered as possible when we raid over to Hildebeest. I will be back tomorrow, as usual. Is there a raid message? No, we're just trying to make Hildebeest lose it as much as possible. Hildebeest, if you have channel points, there has a bunch of like sound alerts of her saying all kinds of vulgar stuff. So use those sound alerts. And we're going to try and make her freak out as much as possible. That's the message. Thanks again, folks. I'll see you tomorrow. Free Palestine from the river to the sea.